Episode 40! The Oddcast is turning 40, everybody!
I am also turning 40. How appropriate.
That's true. But I think the Oddcast will turn 50 before you.
Yeah, it will.
Okay,
It will.
that's a little more balanced.
Is that better?
Yeah, because both of our books are now just slightly visible. It's kind of like it's a bit more even.
Excellent. Because it's
a bit
all
more
about
fair.
egalitarianism here.
Well, that's right. We would not want to be a meritocracy. If that were the case, then you'd only see my book because it is so far superior.
Am I blurry?
You look fine to me. Oh, you mean on the camera?
Should I be more here? Have I moved?
Has the camera moved?
I think the camera.
I think the camera's moved. Give me a sec.
Yeah.
That's a bit more natural.
Yeah.
See a bit more of your book.
And can you pull that down just a smidge? Yeah. You probably bumped it with your big head. That's better. That's better.
Like you make these micro. I mean, at that point, I need to just like micro adjust mine as well. Sorry, everybody. Belly coming in.
It is. It makes
Find your
it.
light. Find your light.
Look at that. Way better.
Now listen.
Way better. Way
All
better.
right. Now, are we doing a podcast or what? Or are we just?
We are.
Right. You know, I nearly cancelled today.
Did you?
I had such an almighty headache this morning. Not a migraine headache, but a headache. And I got to our midway fuel stop and bought some food and bought some coffee, and I was actually beginning to get nauseous. Oh, excuse me. He says as his tummy rumbles and makes weird noises in the microphone. And I very nearly pulled the pin. I was like, oh, gosh. But I thought, no, I'll just mainline some Coke. And I feel great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh, well, the Coke is laced with fentanyl these days, so
Well,
you
that's
probably
right. I mean, I feel amazing, and I'm going to have great sleep tonight.
Yeah.
In the car on the way home. I actually did have a nap. That was part of what kind of healed it. Was I slept for about half an hour in the car.
Are you all weird because of daylight savings? Some people feel that really bad.
So not so much. If I miss a weekend, because I'm working such stupid hours during the week, that if I end up essentially working through a weekend, such as last weekend, I did have to do a fair bit of work during the weekend because I didn't get it all done during the week. And then we had guests over and I did a big spit roast and everything else, which is great. And I enjoy.
We don't want to know about your sex life. Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry. G told me I have to be more professional.
Lamb with souvlaki marinade, I would have you know, and it was a smash hit. I do a mean charcoal spit roast.
Yeah, okay. Is it like a whole animal over the coals?
No. I get the rump butterflied because the rump's got a nice layer of fat on it, and then you have to render it really slowly so that fat just goes all the way through all the meat. It's beautiful.
Excellent.
Anyway, it meant that I just kind of worked my way through the weekend as well, and then with daylight savings happening, I think that's all just compounding on top of me at the moment. But I am here, and I'm very pleased I am, because we have a lot to talk about.
We do, and some of them are quite serious as well. So just to get everyone...
Not a serious episode.
Everyone salivating, here's some of the topics. We didn't get to it on Monday, so we're going to talk about eKaren. Because to be fair, I haven't been overly invested in this.
Right.
But now seeing what's happening with the Irina video that she's trying to censor, I'm paying a bit more attention. I know you've done lots of videos on her.
Yeah, but the details matter on this, and it's worth us talking about.
But also, she's not even Australian.
She's dual, but
through marriage.
We would happily disown her if we could.
Yeah. So, and I know she's an ex-Twitter executive. Anyway, we talk about that when we get into it.
Yep.
Japan's new Iron Lady, we touched on that.
I don't know anywhere near as much as I should about this.
Well, Trump's come out giving her a really kind compliment, and she said that she looks forward to creating a good relationship with Trump.
Yep.
Which is more than Albo's ever done. So
more than he's ever done. Now, you got to be careful with Trump when he praises people, because he has praised Albo before. He's often in the moment just saying what kind of needs to be said in order to get whatever it is that he's trying to achieve at the time.
Yeah.
Now, the US and Japan have had warm relationships under Trump. He visited when I think Shinzo Abe was still alive.
They were quite friendly from what I understand.
And, we had that whole fake news thing around him supposedly insulting the Japanese by dumping the fish food when actually he just copied exactly what the Prime Minister of Japan had just done seconds earlier.
Yeah.
And they edited it to make it look like he hadn't. All that nonsense went on there. So it would be nice to see warm relationships continuing there. But more importantly, I would love to see Japan do a bit of an Argentina. That would be amazing.
You know how invested I am in Japan. By the way, I was tempted with the idea of going to Japan for Christmas. G and I are going to go overseas.
Right.
I looked at airfares and I went, won't be going to Japan. It is astronomical at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah, over $3,500.
Because we've been literally looking at Japan for a Christmas holiday for our family because my wife
This
loves
year?
Japan. Yeah, my wife loves Japan. I've never been there.
If you can find anything below $3,000, it's almost impossible.
$1,500
I-
is what Edwina was finding literally days ago.
She'll have to send it to me. I've been looking because if they have anything low, it's like 3 or 4 stops. So flying via Ho Chi Minh or flying via Hong Kong.
Well,
and
we
then,
were looking at going via Cebu so that we could drop by and see my team in the Philippines.
yeah, so that could be why. Because if
Yeah.
you're doing broken flights,
Well,
because we were looking at Vietnam.
one,
Anyway,
one stop in a place that we're happy to visit. I mean, that's not too bad.
that's good news for a minute.
Okay,
Let's finish.
okay, all right, fine.
All right, I said it was serious because this is one that, with eKaren, we might have to be delicate with. Trump's Gaza peace plan and also the rise of Islamic extremism.
Yeah, there's a bit going on there.
There's a lot going on there. And also, given what happened in Melbourne a couple of days ago, you guys may have seen the graffiti. And also in Western Sydney, I think it was yesterday, there was a massive congregation supporting Hamas.
A couple of thousand people. Yep.
And then we're going to go into first cousin marriage debate.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, like I said, it's a serious episode. And that's talking about basically inbreeding and what's happening with a lot of the Pakistani migrants in the UK.
Yeah, is it the UK that just basically gave it the okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, and I've got the facts in front of me, so I'll read it properly, but there's a bit of ambiguity in the law
Right.
that potentially opens it up to actual incest
Right, okay.
because it's unclear.
Yeah, so let's have unclear laws around that. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Even though we have all of this information from geneticists and biologists saying that, keeping the bloodline too thin is never good.
There's a lot to talk about there.
Greta Thunberg and the girl as a flotilla. Do we have to?
Yes, no, we do, because this for me is worthy of talking about the fact that she was released by these. Well, I mean, we'll get to it later. Look, she's basically hijacked the second anniversary of the Hamas attack into Israel, made it all about her 4 days in an Israeli prison where she would have been treated, relatively speaking, relatively well.
Yeah.
There's all these claims around what they had to do, but we know that they claim all kinds of BS all the time. So I'm sorry, until I see some evidence, I'm not going to believe them. But there are still hostages being held after 2 years inside Gaza in genuinely horrific conditions. But she's like, oh, look at me. I spent 4 days in an Israeli prison.
Yeah, there's a lot that I take back my own words where I said that we need to put these people in the sun because I know a lot of people, whenever we bring out...
We've switched places.
Yeah.
We've switched places.
But now part of me is just like,
yeah.
not the insufferable doom goblin again.
Wow, and I think you just invented a new T-shirt.
Yeah, she is. She is. Like, there's few people on the internet that I just... And whenever I see her face, I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
I don't want to know,
look,
don't care.
We'll get to her, but we have some important business
Yes.
to do first.
All right. Word of the day. Do you want me to pick? Because you keep picking words I actually cannot pronounce.
Well,
so.
but you use the tab open on your computer and you
And
keep
I still
beating
can't
me.
pronounce it.
Yeah, but you beat me though.
Well, you've got the book. All right, ready?
For those that are watching and thinking that she just stopped by herself, no, I pointed a finger.
We're doing everything via osmosis now.
Yeah.
Isochronous. Isochronous?
Asynchronous?
Asynchronous?
No,
isochronous.
Okay.
Occurring consistently at regular intervals. So isochronous, so the example.
Yeah.
The ticking of a clock is isochronous, but the arrival of the elevator at different floors is not.
I see. Isochronous. I mean, it's not a word I knew existed, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, chronos
Yep.
is
Yeah, it's
chronological
clock.
clock.
It's chronological, yeah.
So I am going to check my pronunciation.
Isochronous. I think your pronunciation's probably pretty spot on there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Isochronous. There's not a lot that can go wrong.
Does anyone actually retain these words that we teach
No.
them?
Isochronous.
Isochronous. I was wrong.
I really doubt that that's how it's actually pronounced.
Isochronous.
No.
Isochronous. Well, it
Yeah.
says here I as in EYE,
Yeah.
then so, and then crone, and then us.
Where's the emphasis? On the crone? Isochronous? Isochronous, yeah. So
Isochronous.
if the emphasis is on the I, then it's not on the sock.
Yeah.
Isochronous is nonsense. Isochronous.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Google. You've done me
Yeah,
wrong.
no, Google.
There you go.
Google's
You
wrong.
can keep the book. Isochronous. So what does it mean?
so much.
Occurring
Isochronous.
at the same time?
Occurring consistently at regular intervals.
That's not what this one says either. This one
See-
says occurring at the same time.
So you know what's funny is I already know where I want to use that word. The problem is if we don't get to that topic in time, then you'll beat me having used. But I will have already I feel like I'm being cheated here.
No, you just need to be more competitive. I play to win, mate. I play to win.
Well,
I'll cheat and steal if I have to.
I'm going to have to break up the isochronous winning that you're doing.
That's not. You didn't use it. That doesn't count.
Well, I mean, isochronous counts at regular intervals, so.
You can't use it whilst we're still discussing what the word is, bro. That is cheating. Anyway.
Excuse me, was that in the terms and conditions?
I make up the terms and conditions, and they are prone to varying.
Sadly, you're not wrong.
What is it? Recollections may vary.
Yes.
Was that Queen Elizabeth?
I don't remember.
Yeah, recollections may vary.
Get it? No, sorry. I'm too smart for this crowd.
Okay, I did get it. Yeah, right. Well, okay. Mostly when you speak, I just tune out. So
I don't blame you.
That's why I miss most of your jokes.
I do the same.
All right, good news.
Oh, good news. Oh, well. Oh, hey. So a little while ago, I looked into doing like a Topher Field whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
I thought this could be fun. This could be cool.
That's on brand.
Well, especially Tasmania's doing amazing whiskies right now.
Yeah.
Right. Literally the first place outside of Scotland to win Whiskey of the Year internationally, like the big one. And so I looked into it, and once you buy the Australian whiskey, which Australian whiskey is ridiculously pricey already, and then add any kind of margin to make it make sense as a, because obviously the point is I'm trying to fund what I do.
Yeah.
It just, the prices become insulting. It's just obscene. And so I chose not to do it. But I've recently had someone reach out with an opportunity to perhaps do some clean skin wines branded up. And the region they're from is genuinely a region that I really rather like. And so I'm sitting there going, actually, this might be quite good, because I don't want to just sell any old piece of crap wine. I want to sell a decent wine that's one that I would actually drink, because otherwise I'm just kind of taking the piss. And I went, that's interesting. So I'm waiting on them to come back to me with some more information around the legalities of it. Like, can I just put wines on my website? I don't think I can. I think there's licensing and all kinds of other stuff. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
So there's a bit more information there. But I was like, a Topher Field wine label of wines that I would actually serve and drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So hold that thought.
All right. Excellent. That's great news. Excellent.
I thought so.
And potentially a holiday to Japan.
Well, potentially a holiday to Japan. It just sort of depends on how many more people get loans off my wife in between now and Christmas. But
say the same thing to Jay. It depends on how much money we make between now and Christmas.
Just tell a few of his clients to go and just burn down their relevant material and have it rebuilt by him or something. Yeah. So we would like to. So my wife's been to Japan 3 times before we got married. I've never been. And I would like to. I'd love to go there. I actually really want to check out the car scene, and I want to go to the auction places and see like FD.
Maybe we should go together.
Mazda RX-7s being auctioned off and stuff. That's the hope. I'd like, because I think it's really important to raise kids with some cross-cultural exposure. And multilingual exposure as well. And Japan, the thing about Japan, yes, it's still a long flight, but there's not a lot of time zone adjustment.
It's not too bad. It's like
it's
9 hours.
Well, the flight's more than that, I thought.
Is it? I thought it was about 9.
But the time zone's only about 2 hours, depending on daylight savings or not. So that's a very manageable difference with kids. Yeah. Whereas you go to South America, or you go to Europe or these places, it's brutal. Yeah. There's 3 days after you arrive where the kids are ratty, and then there's 3 days after you get home. Yes. So Japan's looking good. It all costs money, unfortunately, especially when you're trying to take kids with you as well. And money's not something we have a lot of, although this year has worked out better than previous years, so far. So that's the hope. Yeah. Japan is
a very expensive country to travel to, in the sense that before you go, you got to get the JR Rail Pass. Yep. Otherwise, it costs you more when you get it there. Right. And then what you pay for accommodation-wise, you don't get a lot for it. Yeah. Yeah. And even if you pay good money, you will be shocked at how small everything is. But especially in Tokyo.
This is the thing. I've been told that if you stay away from Tokyo, that's less true. And if you stay away from the skiing hotspots during ski season, that's less true. That's true. And that is why everything's so expensive over Christmas time. Obviously, it's Christmas and it's also skiing. Yeah. But I just typed in very quickly then in Webjet. So 1900, but via Hong Kong.
Hong Kong Airlines.
Yeah, right.
I've never heard of Hong Kong Airlines. I don't like the sound of that. I am a bit of an airline
I
snob.
was going to say you're an airline snob. Yes, okay.
But there's one via, they're all like 2.5, 3. Yeah, it's not cheap at the moment.
Okay.
And so they get more expensive.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, my wife seemed to have found something different.
Well, Eddie, please share that with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe we don't want you to come to Japan at the same time as us.
We wouldn't be near you anyway. We'll avoid you.
No, we'll avoid you.
We'll walk past you and be like, I don't know.
We'll avoid you first.
No, last time I was in Japan was 2017, so it's been a long time.
Well,
and I really want to take G there.
Yeah. Well, our hope, our aim, because we both love travel, was to travel every 2 years.
Yep.
And I used to go to America every 2 years before I was married, and we travelled in our first year of marriage. That's when we went to Venezuela. We travelled again 2 years later to the US, toured around Canada and other places, visited a bunch of friends and people that we know. And then we travelled to China in 2018, I think it was, visiting the Guangzhou massive trade fair there, and also going to Hong Kong. Hong Kong was way nicer.
Yeah.
And then, of course, COVID came along and we haven't travelled since then. And I mean, I know, first world problems, boo-hoo, 6 years, whatever. But it is something that we love doing, and we've not had money for 6 years. So now that we're beginning to come out of that, and, I'm starting to do okay. I'm getting some views on my YouTube videos, all that stuff. My wife's business is doing okay. We can start to say, okay, well, how do we want to travel? But, of course, since then, we've had 2 more kids.
Yes.
We took Winston to China with us.
Yeah.
But now we've got 3 kids. So the cost goes up and the tempo has to go down. You just can't put yourself under pressure to move quickly when you've got when you've got a bunch of kids in tow. So it'll be a different thing, but I think it's really important just to expose kids and to say, hey, it looks different, it sounds different, it smells different, the food's different. You're in their home, so sorry, they don't speak a foreign language. You do.
As someone who did grow up traveling, I think that's why I have the opinions and the view of the world that I have.
Yeah.
A big part of it was, seeing other cultures and other ways of life that were very different.
Yeah, but for those people, that is as assumed and as obvious as what our culture says.
Yeah.
Our culture is. My parents had one good year financially when I was a kid. We were below the poverty line for much of my childhood. This is not a sob story. This is just a fact. And we were certainly below the average for pretty much my entire childhood, with 1 year as the exception. My dad's business, he was doing voiceovers, absolutely took off. He did really well for a year. And we went overseas for 3 months off the proceeds of that. And 6 weeks in Europe, 6 weeks in North America. And I was 7. I don't have a lot of explicit memories. I've got some, but I don't have a lot of just clear memories from that trip. But I know that it massively influenced my comfort with other cultures, other languages, other opinions, other people, foreign food, that sort of stuff doesn't bother me nearly as much as what I know it would had I not had that exposure at a relatively young age. So I think it's really, really good, really healthy, and I want to do that for my kids.
I normally travel, well, up until COVID, I never spent a July in Australia.
Oh, wow.
I was always gone for July.
Right.
And,
Is that because of the weather? You're just like, nah, screw the rain.
July's always just like, ugh. And I was either going to the CrossFit Games, and whenever that was always in US. And then I'd go, all right, I'm in the US for a week, and then I'm going somewhere else. And it was like Cuba one year, and then it was Hong Kong, and then all these different places. But I obviously did Iceland when we went to ARC.
Yeah.
But that was the last time I've been overseas.
Yeah, so that's true. I have been overseas to ARC. I did actually genuinely forget about that. Yes, but that was a working trip.
That was a stressful trip.
Well, for you, that was an insanely stressful trip.
Yeah.
That went wrong. Anyway, we've told that story before.
Yeah.
So what's your good news?
My good news is, more little bit of good news is that we now have super fast fiber to the house internet.
Okay.
So you didn't hear this. So the last 2 Wednesdays to upload this podcast, I've been having to use the 5G on my phone. But as I've told you before, we are in a 5G black spot.
Dead spot, yes.
So I bought an Optus prepaid SIM card and I get better 5G.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, it's only 2 bars. And so I was having so much trouble. And those who watched the podcast 2 episodes ago, it did finally upload, but it uploaded with all this grey dots and pixelation. It's almost like it couldn't get the file up.
Yeah.
And so last Wednesday, because it just wasn't working, I got in the car and I drove for 20 minutes until I saw 4 bars of 5G.
5G, yeah.
pulled over literally into this random car park and
Yeah.
sat there for an hour and a half waiting for the podcast to go up.
That's some serious late 90s shit.
And that's why we have been late for the last 2 episodes.
All right, but it's not going to happen again, is it?
It shouldn't be.
So can I ask a question? Did you try running it through CapCut to reduce the bit rate, to reduce the file size first?
I did, and the problem with that is that adds 2 hours of export
Because you're on a
time.
Mac, yes.
It's not because it's a Mac, it's because
Right.
it's stupid. And then that's 2 hours that I could be uploading. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I have a mid-powered laptop that I bought on the basis of portability. And
It's a 3.5 hour podcast. It takes forever to export.
I don't want to hear excuses. I want to see results. All right, everybody, you can be the judge tonight. Is it on time? You tell me.
Anyway, so that's not my actual good news.
Well,
my
I hope not, because that
Yeah.
wasn't very good news.
My actual good news is I've got my very first YouTube sponsor.
How you?
They reached out to me.
You beat me.
I did.
Sorry. How many people do you have on your channel right now?
Yeah,
I am
1,000.
outraged. I am furious right now. Like actual financial sponsors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dare you?
4 figures.
You've stolen my childhood and my dreams.
How dare you?
How dare you? Tell me what
So
happened.
they found me on Instagram, and I was like, "Did you actually watch my Instagram? It's quite political at
Yeah,
times."
it's a little spicy.
Yeah. And they're like, "No, we love what you stand for." They're an
Okay.
AI company that does AI editing, and I'm a little bit like hesitant with a lot of that
Like
AI
photo
stuff.
adjustment.
Photo editing,
and
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And obviously that's what guys drink. My master's is on, so
It's going to be a bad night for your liver.
it's been a bad year for their
I
livers.
tell you what, Carly is isochronous when it comes to talking about her masters. You could set,
All right,
you
I'll
could-
give it to
You
you.
could set your watch. You could set your watch to her.
Oh, okay, I'll pay it. Well done.
I win.
You did. You tripped over it, but you did.
I
You got
did.
there.
Yeah.
You got there.
I had to read it from here. I don't have a tab open on my laptop.
I don't have it open actually. I closed it down.
Well,
Anyway, so they reached out to me and I had a bit of a look, and I've played with a few of these programs, but this one's actually pretty good.
Right.
So of the available programs,
give them a
there's
plug. Who is it? Who is it? Come on.
no, I'm not gonna say it yet.
Oh.
Because I haven't signed the
Oh, you're
contract.
being all coy.
Yeah, wait until the money's in my bank account. I ain't giving them no
We
airtime.
don't get to find out who Carly's new boyfriend is until she does the grand announcements. Sorry, G, you've been replaced by AI. I mean, it was inevitable, really.
To be fair, I do have to use it and make sure I like it first.
Well, that's true. That's that annoying thing called
Yeah.
integrity and
Yeah.
actually like caring.
Yeah, I don't feel like I can just bloody.
We would be so
Take
much
money
richer
for no reason.
if we didn't do that.
I've told you this before. I've had people approach me to bloody promote sex toys, butt plugs, vibrators, and I'm like, nah, man.
Yeah.
There's not enough money in the world.
But I mean, G could tell you if they're any good.
He could.
Yeah.
Poor man, he's not here to defend himself.
Replaced by AI. He's
shit.
the butt of butt plug jokes. I mean, come on, he's having a bad day already.
He is. So good news out of the way.
All right, yes. I'm glad we got that out of the way. It's my least favourite part of the good news. Who needs it?
Yeah.
I tell you.
How did your good news episode go?
Really poorly, as
Yeah.
predicted.
Yeah.
As predicted. Like, listen, guys. This is actually a problem. I did a dedicated video about good news. The world is actually getting better. It's actually really good. We have the data to prove it. The world is good. And I said in that video, it is a well-known fact in the media and in the online media space that good news doesn't sell.
Yes.
You cannot sell newspapers with a good news headline. You need an apocalypse. You need bad news. You need something that activates that part of people's brain that makes
And
them
gets
go,
them
oh no.
angry.
This is why clickbait is such a problem. This is why negativity and apocalyptic thinking is such a problem. And so I did a video explicitly, number 200. It was the TOFA project number 200. I did a commemorative episode saying, hey, some good news. Flopped.
Yeah.
Absolutely flopped.
I'm not shocked at all.
I'm not shocked at all,
Yeah.
but it just kind of goes to prove the point. This is why people run around with clickbait, with nonsense, with fear-mongering all the time, because ultimately, in the end, you get paid for views.
Yeah.
And that's what gets views.
Well, you get paid for views, and also that's what helps build an audience. Like,
Well, yeah,
why
people
else would
follow
you
you.
do it
Yeah.
if there's no return for it? Like,
Yeah.
we get this often when we're doing things. People go, "Oh, why won't you do this? And why won't you talk about that?" Well, at the end of the day, this needs to be run like a business, and you've got to make decisions that get you there.
Yes and no. So there is a place. So Apple invented the iPhone and basically in the process said, you people want this thing that you've never heard of and you never knew you wanted, right? So you do have to be willing to get out there with things to say, hey, you don't think you want this yet, but I'm telling you, you do. There's also an enormous amount of brand value in what we do in being ahead of the curve.
Yes.
So the number of videos that I can point back to and say, hey, in this video, I said this thing, now that's happening, right? That builds a lot of brand value. And that means that if you're ahead of the curve, it means that people aren't ready to click on it yet. They're not, it's not the thing, the zeitgeist in that moment. But ultimately, yes, in the end, across your portfolio of videos and content, you have to get interactions, you have to get views. Otherwise, this becomes unsustainable and you have to stop.
Well, yeah, it does. And also, you've got to keep people engaged. Like, if you're just saying, oh, things are lovely, people are like, it's not lovely for me. And have you noticed that in your comments, like, oh, well, I'm not like that, therefore it's not true.
Yeah, therefore, yes. Yes, the sample size of one, yes.
Yes, it does get a little bit.
All right, so we've veered from good news to complaining about good news to complaining about our audience. This is going well so far.
Okay, so topic number one.
Right.
All right, actually, first things first. So just to outrage us.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get us fucking...
This will get clicks. Dog put down after horrific attack while owner was away for 15 minutes.
Now, what do you see when you read that headline?
Well, dog put down.
Why was the dog put down?
Well, it was attacked. Well, the owner
it was
away.
attacked? Or it attacked?
Oh, I see. Yes.
What's the context of this headline?
It's not like me to miss that. I see. The problem was I put the colour of already knowing what this story is because I'd already come across this morning. But you're quite right. The headline deliberately leaves it ambiguous, so most people will assume that the dog was the one that attacked.
With a Rottweiler.
Yes. Yeah.
So no, guys, this is the state of Australia.
Well spotted. I completely glossed over that. Well spotted.
Nope, I am all over this. So this dog, this actually gets me so worked up. This dog was 9 years old, and the owner was inside grabbing something from the supermarket. It was outside. They were inside for 15 minutes. A bunch of people, kids no less, beat the dog, beat it senselessly.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah.
No reason at all. And now this person's dog had to be put down. That happened in Newcastle West.
I want to say unbelievable, but I mean, we've just seen videos of people macheteing kids to death and all sorts. I mean, nothing's unbelievable anymore, is it?
The kids get me, but the dog, man, that really fires me up. What the hell is going on with people?
Well, they're just lucky that wasn't John Wick's dog.
We need a hero like that. And because I'm here to just piss everyone off. Another one. Have you seen this story? No. All right. So, forgive me. I'm going to censor this language. Big shout out to the Indian community in Mernda, Melbourne. They had a big festival. And the rubbish was carried into and dumped into a waterway. And they were caught on camera doing it. So this is the footage here. And this has gone hugely viral. Look at that. 3.7 million views.
Yeah.
This is our multiculturalism at work here, guys.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm going to say what I've said over and over again. Those individuals need to be identified, and the Indian community should help in identifying them, because I know there's a lot of Indians that would also be disgusted by this. And certainly wouldn't want this to be viewed by the wider public as representative of all of them. So I would expect the Indian community should be helping with inquiries about this, and those individuals absolutely need to be held to account. I would say a good 400 hours of community service picking up rubbish by the side of the road with one of those little pincer things should adjust their attitude a little bit.
And a significant fine.
Well, yeah, potentially. But this is the thing, that's those individuals are responsible for those actions and they need to be held accountable.
You say this often when we talk about immigration, right? Like they need to be held to our laws. And, this is the one thing where we disagree on.
You don't think they should be held accountable to our laws?
No,
I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm being
No, immigration.
Yeah.
I have a real issue with us allowing people to come into this country and stay either through permanent residency or even citizenship who do not value what we value. They have incompatible cultural values. I don't mind what religion they practice. I don't mind their customs. I don't mind them opening their own shops. But there are things that are done in India, let's use India specifically, that we know what India looks like. We know what India's like.
Go visit the Ganges River
right?
sometime.
And that is a cultural thing. It is what they do, right? So I see something like this and it infuriates me because that's just one of them caught on camera, right? And I'm not saying this is representative of the entire Indian community, but I dare say there's a lot of this going on that goes unchecked and unnoticed because A, Australians are apathetic, B, also you don't want to come across racist because, you know, political climate. This sort of stuff, I'm glad it's blown up because this is a conversation that needs to be had. And I've talked about this before. We're not allowed to have these conversations because it's culturally insensitive or it's racially biased, right? Yeah. This has got nothing to do with race. This is a cultural incompatibility. This is an imported habit. This is the way they behave back in India. And I've said this before. India is a huge country with a class system and a huge disparity between the haves and the have-nots, right? We don't know who these people are, where they've come from, but I dare say...
They would have come from the wealthier part of India because they're here. They had the money to come here.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we can assume, right? Safely assume. So, okay, these people have come from a more wealthy part of India. And is this how they behave in India itself? So are they going and dumping shit in the poorer parts of India? Because, you know, it's just a blatant disregard for people outside your own little caste system, because that's what they call it in India.
Yeah.
And we don't have these conversations because it's naughty.
Well, you made the comment there that there is a cultural incompatibility, and I agree, but the cultural expectations that we have are expressed through our laws. And yes, I'm famous for the good people break bad laws. This is not a bad law. Not dumping your rubbish and making it somebody else's problem. That's not a bad law. That's a good law. That's actually about just looking after God's, the planet that we've been given and being good stewards of that. So we have expressed our cultural expectations with laws against simply making your rubbish somebody else's problem. You're not allowed to do that. You have to put it into one of the places where rubbish is designated to go so that you're not just dumping it on somebody else and making it somebody else's problem. We have that cultural expectation expressed through law. So if we properly uphold our laws, get the Indian community to help us to identify who those people were, make sure they get held accountable and made example of, then Indian people at that point say, oh, that's the cultural expectation, I'll abide by that. Or they start to go, maybe I'm not as welcome here, as comfortable here. Maybe I don't like it here quite so much. And we've talked about shame. We've talked about
I was about to say, you know what I'm about to say?
Yes.
In the voice of Darren Hinch.
Yeah.
Shame.
So absolutely, those people do need to be shamed for doing that, and they do need to be made an example of, so that the members of the Indian community that haven't been doing that and have been saying, hey guys, we don't do that over here, because I guarantee you those conversations will be happening amongst families, parents trying to admonish children or whatever it may be. They get vindicated. Hey guys, I was right. Yeah. And the people who said, nah, screw that, they start to go, this has got some consequences. This has got, at a minimum, some public shame. And shame is very, very powerful within your own community as well.
Yeah.
Right? So to actually get the Indian community on board and to say, if this shit keeps happening, your social license is going to come under threat. Like, the people of Australia are not going to tolerate this. You guys need to help us to clamp down on the individuals who are disregarding our cultural expectations and our laws around the fact that we want to have a clean environment and clean waterways, and not simply make our rubbish somebody else's problem. Help us do that.
Yep.
Or else there are going to be social consequences at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. So with the shame thing, right, bringing that back into the forefront, we shame people, or white people, every day with the current political climate. Yep. You know, this sounds white, or that's a white person problem, or, you know, it's colonialism.
Middle-aged white man is the ultimate put down.
100%. Like, those kind of things are easily and freely said.
Yeah.
But if we said, you know, if we stereotype this Indian behavior that makes you racist, what I'm trying to advocate for, and maybe I don't have the right word for it, is I don't really care whether you're black, white, blue, purple, pink. I don't care what your sexual proclivities are. I don't give a shit about anything about you. What I care about is the fact that we live a certain way here. We have a certain set of values. Yep. Like them or fuck off. Yeah. Right? And if you don't adhere to our values, we will shame you. Yeah. And you will either adopt them or fuck off.
Correct. And I agree. So there's that bumper sticker, love it or leave it. Yeah. Right. And that was viewed as really deeply racist. Oh, you're telling them they're not welcome. No. That bumper sticker doesn't say you're not welcome. Yeah. It says love the place that you've come to. Yes. Or fuck off. 100%. Right? It doesn't say you're not welcome. It says you're welcome as long as you actually say, hey, look at this beautiful place. Let me become a part of it. Yeah. I'm going to love this place. I'm going to look after this place. I'm going to adopt the values and the cultural norms that made this place amazing. Love it or leave it is not a racist slogan.
And this is what I want to encourage. I did a little video last week about political correctness is dead. And it's going to take a while for it to completely wash over, the mainstream.
Yeah.
But
There's always the bitter clingers.
Yeah, but as far as like not being able to say the unsayable, we have to.
Yeah.
If it's African youth crime, we have to call it African youth crime. I don't give a shit if someone's going to call me a racist. Call me whatever the fuck you want. You have for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
This is a problem exclusive to South Sudanese African immigrants,
Okay,
right?
so there you've gone too far because you said it's exclusive to them.
Well, not totally.
It is a particular problem amongst their number, and the individuals responsible for that particular problem need to be dealt with properly. But let's not overstate the case. It's not exclusive.
No, it creates a social contagion too.
It does, yes.
And you've heard about the broken window theory, right?
I'm not sure that I adhere to it, but yes, I'm very familiar with it. It was
Rudy Giuliani. So
well,
for those,
it predates him, but yes, he adopted it. Yes.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what it is, do you want to explain it quickly?
So the broken windows theory essentially says where people are engaged in serious crime, they didn't start there. They started with minor stuff, vandalism, that sort of stuff. And there is going to be a sense of dereliction, broken windows, graffiti, uncollected rubbish, these sorts of things. When you see that in a community, you know you've entered a higher crime community where people don't really care. And the broken windows, if you start jumping on the little things, the graffiti and the vandalism and the little crimes, and stop the broken windows from happening, then ultimately you will have thwarted and headed off a lot of the more major crimes.
Yeah, so what Rudy Giuliani did is go and clean up some of the more derelict areas to try and make it look better. And by proxy, the crime started to dissipate. When it comes to, say, this Indian, the two Indian men who are throwing stuff away and whatever, if people see one, it's like the rubbish dumping. It's not exclusive to Indian people.
No.
We've seen people drop mattresses and couches and stuff in.
I've talked about what I saw in China from the high-rise building. You're just looking down and literally rubbish trucks that have collected rubbish out of skips and rubbish bins are coming and just dumping it straight into a stormwater creek.
That
was their disposal system in China.
We've seen a lot of that. And even here in Australia, like you can go drive out the back through some paddocks and stuff and you'll see a bunch of stuff, especially if you go along the train lines.
Yeah.
People have dumped their rubbish near train lines. So, when I say shame, call it for what it is. Don't tiptoe around the subject. This was an issue made by the Indian community, or two men from the Indian community, after a festival. Name them, shame them, put their faces everywhere, make them feel humiliated, and they'll hopefully never do it again. That's how it needs to be dealt with, in my opinion.
And if you don't want to be treated like that, don't dump rubbish. And if you have to dump rubbish, go back to wherever it is that you've learnt to dump rubbish and do it over there.
And I feel the same about youth crime. Show their freaking faces. I don't give a shit that they're 14, 15. I don't care about that anymore. This is what I mean about political correctness and doing things because, it's the right thing to do. No, it's not. Call a spade. Show us their face. Who are they? Where do they go to school? Let's embarrass the shit out of them.
Yeah, and there's another detail there with the broken windows theory. So I've talked before about the fact that obviously these Sudanese kids that are involved in this crime wave, and again, it's the individuals involved that are the problem, not Sudanese as an entire bracket. But yeah, the social contagion thing is real, and it certainly has proved very appealing to Sudanese kids. They're not cutting someone to death with a machete as their very first crime.
No.
But that doesn't mean that we should be jumping on every single person who commits an act of graffiti or petty theft and putting them through the system. So we've talked about Purcell and her whole bail saves lives thing.
Yes.
That's actually true at the low level.
Yeah.
If you take graffiti or take kids who are loitering or doing really low level stuff and you shove them through the adult criminal justice system, they will meet a whole bunch of people and learn a whole bunch of skills, and you are setting them on a pathway towards more crime in the future. There is truth to that at that low level. But if you fail to say, hey, listen, you've crossed that line into the pathway to high level, you're already on that pathway.
Yeah.
So now we are going to scare the ever-loving shit out of you by actually throwing the book at you and actually holding you accountable and actually locking you up for a serious amount of time. If you fail to flick that switch when that threshold gets crossed, that's where you end up where we are, where they feel bulletproof. They say, well, I'm getting away with everything now. And then the social contagion kicks in because social media amplifies it, and we end up where we are. So there is a fine line between those two. I don't subscribe to broken windows policing. The police department were essentially incentivized to make arrests. They particularly went around poor communities, which do tend to be, in America, black communities. So you ended up with an enormous number of young black, particularly men, being dragged through the court system. Some deserved it, many didn't. Many deserved something, but not that. and it entrenched and further exacerbated some of the social problems that they already did have. So there needs to be discernment, but it's very clear to me that in Victoria, we have gone way too far the other way, where we're not actually dealing with actual crimes. So forget broken windows policing. How about just like armed robbery policing or carjacking policing? Like, can we at least do that?
Unknown caller.
Wow.
That's rude.
Wow.
Excuse me.
How rude of them to call.
Your phone's been beeping this whole bloody time. Have you not heard it?
No, I've got headphones on.
I can hear your phone going beep, 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 beep.
No, it doesn't. My phone doesn't beep. It vibrates.
I've been hearing something.
My phone is not a man's best friend. It's a woman's best friend.
Excellent.
It vibrates.
Unnecessary information.
You didn't see that coming? See what I did there?
Why are you being crass? It's normally me. Gee, for the record, I haven't said anything distasteful.
I've got to pick up the slack. You know, you're being too polite.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about that. There's a big one I want to go into, but I first thought we would jump across to the left now being the thing that they accuse us of being.
Oh.
Have you seen this clip from The View?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I'm gonna need I need glasses. I need you to.
I'm going to make it bigger in a second, but just to give you some context. So Whoopi Goldberg is reacting to reporting on how ICE agents will be at the Super Bowl halftime, right? Because Bad Bunny, who's a Puerto Rican entertainer, will be performing.
Yeah.
And so she's encouraging, this is from Whoopi Goldberg, she's encouraging attendees to slather on cocoa butter, bake in the sun, and adopt a Latin accent so ICE can't tell anyone apart. I kid you not.
Sorry. Did she just tell everyone to wear Latino face?
Yes. All right, so we're going to watch it.
Okay, whoa. Sombreros.
Sombreros.
That would be the best if all the Trump supporters who are attending come in massive sombreros and painted on moustaches and say, hey, Whoopi Goldberg told us to do
it. All right, so we're going to watch this clip.
She's threatening to go to the Super Bowl when Bad Bunny is there and round up all these people.
Like Joy knows who Bad Bunny is.
Do you think that she would go if it was Garth Brooks or Eminem or Taylor Swift or any other white person?
Americans.
I understand what you're saying because she's going to go to the Super Bowl and round up. How's she going to know who's who?
Because the Supreme Court has given permission to question anyone who has a Spanish accent or has a dark skin.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Everybody, get a little cocoa butter, sit in the sun. That's the first thing. and this is the only time you can probably ever do this, give yourself a Latin accent.
You know, Whoopi, that is such a good idea.
And see if she can tell who's who.
Who do you think are buying Super Bowl tickets? I can't afford a Super Bowl ticket.
During the Nazi occupation, there was one country, I believe it was Denmark or Norway, one of those, where everybody put the Jewish star on.
Yeah.
And they didn't know who was Jewish and who was not. So what you're saying is very smart.
Well, I love how
What you're saying is very smart. Cultural appropriation is very smart, provided that you're on the left.
Look,
we condone it.
I don't have a problem. I've never had a problem with cultural appropriation. I think it's a compliment. So I don't have a problem with what she's saying, but you're absolutely right. The hypocrisy is hilarious.
Shit.
But how good would that be to be at a Super Bowl where absolutely everybody there is either on the Whoopi Goldberg side and they're sincerely trying to do Latin face, or they're on the MAGA side and they're there with the ridiculous sombreros and everything else. I mean, that would just be the most fun stadium to be in.
It would be. But I think that it's so funny now. Like, I know a lot of people think we're not winning, but we are winning because the mask has well and truly slipped that they're now coming full circle. So everything they previously have accused us of, they are now doing. They are openly being racist. They are openly asking for segregation. They are openly trying to target their political opponents. They are openly calling for assassinations. Like, they have gone full fascist.
Now, you said that this was like we had lots of serious topics to get through. I've done nothing but laugh so far. So are you like backloading all the doom and gloom? Like you're going to put all the really depressing stuff at the end?
It's the news delivered differently. Wasn't that the tagline of the project?
Yes, please never say that again.
Sorry. Okay, so... Oh, God, there's so much to look at. All right, I'm just going to pull up this thing. This has just come out. You might be over this. The Human Rights Commission is the reason we now have a male pedophile who raped his 5-year-old daughter pretending to be a woman to reduce moral culpability and his jail sentence with time served in a female-only prison. Have you seen this?
I haven't. I know the story. I haven't seen whatever this video is. That was obviously Senator Malcolm Roberts, I presume, questioning someone from the Australian Human Rights Commission. So the Human Rights Commission, broadly speaking, found that nothing wrong was done during COVID. They sort of slapped on the wrist for a few little sort of fringe things, mostly related to minorities and what have you, all the protected groups. Now, the commissioner at that time was actually someone who was supposed to be good. I remember when she was appointed, I don't recall her name, but I remember when she was appointed and people said, oh, this will be good, this is really good. No, it wasn't. That institution is a problem.
Yeah.
It's not who sits in the seat, the institution is a problem. We now have the Australian Human Rights Commission just made a submission to the Senate Select Committee on information integrity on climate change. And I kid you not, the Australian Human Rights Commission argued that misinformation about climate change was a human rights issue, and on that basis, people's freedom of speech should be curtailed. So the Australian Human Rights Commission is now recommending violating human rights. Now, I've said before, and people always kind of look at me funny the first time they hear it, the government always ends up accomplishing the opposite of whatever it is they say they're going to accomplish. And there's a mechanism for that. It's system. I'm actually thinking about writing an entire book on this called Psychocrats. As soon as something becomes a system, it is inevitable that it will turn on itself and it will ultimately destroy the thing that you set up the system to accomplish in the first place. It's something like gravity. It's a law of nature. And so the Human Rights Commission is now a farce.
Yeah.
It is literally the reason why our human rights are being destroyed. And in the case of this story, it's the reason why our justice system, there's that word again, is actually violating justice.
So let's watch this clip really quickly. It goes for 3 minutes. I don't think we need to watch the whole thing.
Are you paid by the taxpayers to go in and bat for biological born and developed men?
So my salary is similar to that you mentioned for Commissioner Sivaraman.
About $400,000 per year plus 15.4%.
That'd be nice.
Super.
Correct.
Thank you. If a woman took a case... just so that I can be clear, your position is that the law means a biological man who identifies as a transgender woman can enter a female-only space?
So I would question whether or not Roxanne Tickle is not a man. She is a trans woman, and so she has gone through various processes and has transitioned, and she's a trans woman.
Long way of saying yes.
So she has access or...
Have you seen Roxanne Tickle? Okay.
Was provided access to the Giggle for Girls app, and then was taken off the access to Giggle for Girls app.
So what sort of chromosomes does she have?
I can't.
XX or XY?
I'm sorry. I can't. It's so
Insulting to your intelligence?
infuriating.
Yeah, it is actually.
Here is, in my opinion, one of the finest politicians that we have, Senator Malcolm Roberts. No offense to the others. I hold Senator Roberts in extremely high regard. Being put in second place to him is no insult. Having to waste his time with highly paid bureaucrats who are on our dime, who get to sit there and play word salad games with biological reality for the purpose of undermining the safety of biological women in our society. And somehow we're all supposed to keep a straight face and pretend like this is not the inmates running the fucking insane asylum.
Yeah, I'm glad you're swearing. Because this is exactly what I said about political correctness needs to die. Well, it is dying, but it needs to be like fucking ripped off. And you know how like on Monday I cracked it because that person told me to not say the word, what did I say?
You had a little hissy fit. It was catatonic.
Catatonic, yeah. So for those of you who may have missed Monday's episode, we got a comment and I said something was, what did I say?
You were talking, you were talking about Gen Z or whatever, and they're sort of just sitting there blank stare.
Yeah.
It was the drive-through.
It was the drive-through, right? So
the drive-through story.
Yeah, I won't tell the story again, but basically I was saying that these Gen Z were standing around as if they were malfunctioning, and they looked catatonic. Like there was the lights were on, but no one was home. And it was extraordinary to watch. Like I'm literally looking at these grown adults, you know, they had to be like 20, 21, 22. And I'm waiting for some kind of reaction.
Are
something.
you alive?
Yeah. And that's why I say they were catatonic. And so for those of you who didn't see the chat, one of our viewers said, please don't use that word. It's actually
catatonia is a real thing.
It's a real thing and it's disrespectful.
Which is true, but...
That comment alone is exactly how we got to this.
Yeah.
Oh, please don't say that particular word because that one's offensive.
Yeah.
I don't mind, because then I said something like it's the same as the word retard, and then I saw them commenting saying, "Oh, I'm not offended by retard." I'm like, no, what you wanted was for me to change my speech because you had a particular issue with it. So this is a biological man. He's a man. You can put as much lipstick on him as you want. They are a man. They've experienced puberty as a man. They have a penis. They, for all extensive purposes, are a man. They can still rape a woman, right? All right, cool. So this pedophile, this particular case, and we've talked about this on a previous podcast. He was a man when he did it. He raped his own 5-year-old daughter and then has decided to transition to become transgender and now wants to be put in a women's prison. If you are going to sit there as a bureaucrat and argue that this is right because for the very small minority of people who are trans, you're doing it for them, but you don't care about the criminality of it. And also that 5-year-old fucking kid who got raped by her father. Like, how does this woman sit here? How does she look at herself in the mirror?
And we pay her $1,000 a day plus so that she can, and that's every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, so that she can sit there spouting that kind of nonsense. You know what?
These people are evil.
You know what she gets paid for? She gets paid to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
That's literally her salary is her reward for keeping a straight face whilst literally handing all of the power over to the biggest fucking retarded insane people that we have in this country.
Yeah. It's just, it's so infuriating. It's, you know, and you can't say it because for whatever reason, we have been way too polite for way too long. We've kissed the ring, we've bent the knee. And like you said, the idiots are running the asylum.
Can we zoom out for a second here and take a global view, because this is not an Australia-only problem. We've just watched the so-called justice system in the UK and the political system, the law and order establishment defending Pakistani rape gangs in the UK for decades, completely sidelining, unpersoning, othering tens of thousands of young women who were victims of these gangs in one way or another, and certainly many thousands who were victims of extremely violent gang rapes and all kinds of heinous stuff. And they did that with a straight face. Again, paid by the taxpayers, whether they were elected MPs or whether they were bureaucrats or senior justice department or the judges, the people wearing the wigs. They're saying, oh, Tommy Robinson needs to go to prison because he said something.
He said the unsayable.
That we consider to be contempt of court. But we're not going to punish the people who have committed rape. And we know they have because it's been acknowledged now. It was covered up for a very long time, but it's been acknowledged now. We know, because it's happened in various places around the world, that biological males, men, who have called themselves women and gone into a women's prison have then committed acts of rape against the other inmates in those prisons. This has happened. This is a matter of record. The fact that we have a government, a justice system, a prison system, our courts, our judges, our bureaucrats, and our politicians who are trying to sit there and say, oh, this is normal. Gaslighting is way too mild of a term.
I just Googled then Pakistani rape gangs, right? And so there are some older articles like 2018. So have a look at this. This is where political correctness gets us. These, I'm going to call them monsters. You can get offended. I don't care. These monsters are raping young girls and we're not allowed to talk about it because it's racist. Have a look at them. Look at them.
And see, this is what creates the backlash that we're seeing in the UK right now. These huge protests, the popularity of Tommy Robinson, the popularity of Reform UK. And yes, they're not one and the same thing, but it is part of the same movement that is rising to support both. I've said it for a very long time. When you ignore the problems, you feed the backlash. And then we get told the backlash is racist. We talked on Monday night about what happened at Cronulla. Right? Where the authorities didn't clamp down on people who were causing actual trouble. And as a result of that, the people stood up, and then the authorities go, oh, those people are racist.
Yeah, you're racist.
Same with Tommy Robinson. Why did Tommy have to say the thing that the judges and the politicians and the bureaucrats should have been saying the whole time, which is, we've got a problem with this kind of crime. Why was it left to Tommy? And then they go, oh, Tommy's a racist. He's the problem here. No. When you ignore the real problem, you feed the backlash. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen in Victoria right now with the authorities not dealing with crime.
Yeah, and look, it is getting to a point, and I've said this, God, I feel like every podcast for the last month or so, this is going to cause a race riot. It will. And it will because of the government's inaction on it. Because now people are going, no, I'm going to call it out for what it is.
Yeah,
this
correct.
is a cultural incompatibility.
Yep.
And we're going to go into the first cousin marriages in a second. That is a cultural thing, right? And these cultures have been imported into the West. And we, the West, who have our own values and our own systems, have had to coalesce to these cultural things that are against our values.
Yeah.
And we've had to shut up and take it.
That's right.
Right?
Now, I want to make two quick comments before we move forward. Number one, you've now delivered on this being a dark episode. Congratulations. You saved it up, but you've delivered on that. But number two, we were asked last week how we feel about the death penalty. And my response is, look, I don't think it should be off the table, but we've got to be super careful. Castration, on the other hand, I'm a little more comfortable with. Yeah.
I shame, humiliation. Like, do you remember, you didn't watch Game of Thrones? Or did you?
I saw, I think in the end, I saw the first 4 seasons.
Okay, there's
before it went completely to crap. Let's be honest. The Red Wedding season 1, that was the good.
That was good. I don't like how it ended. To be fair, I didn't like season 8. But anyway, I digress. There's a scene where Cersei Lannister is walked down the stairs, right, because of the incest with her brother.
Yeah.
And they shave her head, and she's all, withdrawn. She's been in the cell, and she's covered in dirt. And she's walking past the people, the countryside, the people from the town, and they're all saying shame, shame, shame. I think that's what we need. Just blatant humiliation. And no, I don't care about your mental health. Yeah. Cry harder.
Yeah.
If you are going to behave like an animal, if you are going to do heinous, contemptible things, be prepared to suffer the consequences. Yeah. Don't like the consequences. Hey, here's a hot tip. You don't have to do the crime.
So historically, sort of shame rituals have been a part of society, whether that's being put in the stocks and having rotten fruit thrown at you, in military or maritime circles, being drummed out of a unit, or drummed out of being the crew on a ship. These are kind of ritualized processes where you have to walk between your crewmates or your platoon mates or whatever it may be in that particular context. And there is yes, it's performative. There is a performative, ritualistic element of marking and denoting you as whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that draws a line. And from that point on, the intention is, once you've been drummed out of a unit, you're persona non grata.
Yeah.
You will not fraternize with them. You will not, when they retire, etc., like you're done. You're gone forever. And that level of shame is really necessary, particularly in maritime circles. Nothing erodes morale on a ship or on a submarine faster than the knowledge that there's a thief around.
Yeah.
Right? If you discover that someone in your crew is a thief, you have to deal with that real quick, because that is going to cause a cascading set of problems. So they have a very, very high threshold for the expectation of how people are going to behave, and therefore they have very harsh punishments when people don't actually uphold those standards. And we've lost that. We've turned around and had such a focus on being loving and being understanding and, but you don't understand what they've been through, blah, 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 that we've failed to uphold any meaningful standards.
Yeah.
And now we're literally getting to the point where we will take a rapist and imprison him with all of his future victims.
What I need people to understand from this is that the reason we're here is the reason I got so angry at that person's comment on Monday. Because for so long, we have been told to shut up and accept what we are being told. Even though we know it's wrong, yes, you can say gaslighting, call it whatever you want. Fundamentally, it opposes our values, and we haven't been able to speak about it. Now is the time to stop dancing around and say it for what it is. It's Pakistani rape gangs.
Yeah.
It's men raping young girls in women's prisons.
Yeah.
Stop using these invented words to protect polite sensibilities and to not get attacked. And I heard this thing. This is totally an aside from what we're talking about, but it was someone talking about becoming a public figure. Now, this is something you and I have talked about before. It can be really difficult because you just cop it, right? And people are going to say what they're going to say. And you do get to a point, and I know I've reached that, where I just don't care, right? But the problem with a lot of people who are now starting to speak up, or maybe what felt like they should speak up in the workplace or in their sports team or whatever, is that they get a bit of pushback and it freaks them out and they never speak up again. You need to accept that you are going to get pushback and make peace with it and get over it.
Yep.
Someone
100%.
said a hurty word. Who fucking cares? Grow a backbone.
Someone doesn't like you, and did the world end?
Correct.
Yep.
Oh, someone said a word you don't like. Be offended. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just don't care.
Now, this has been lots of fun, and we're about to get into another really fun topic, which is first cousin marriage.
Do you want a tangent?
Which would be great. Well, I was just going to lodge a complaint, actually.
Oh.
I'd like to lodge a formal complaint.
Yes.
The new house's water tastes crap.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
It is awful. I've never been a water snob, but I'm making an exception.
Like swimming pool, doesn't it?
Your water, yeah, it's my pee. That's what I can taste.
It's disgusting. That's because you were so spoiled with beautiful filtered water the whole year. And yeah, God, you taste it. So for those...
I used to think that Melbourne water was good until I moved to Albury.
Oh, it's disgusting. You may as well drink a swimming pool. That's what it tastes like. So we've talked about this before, but obviously my girlfriend Loz James has a water filter that goes on the tap.
Loz, you've let me down. Where is my water filter?
No.
How can you let Carly live in a house for 3 weeks now? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And not have one of your water filters?
Well, no, I have it. The problem is it's incompatible with the tap. So
Loz.
our tap in the kitchen has one of those you like pull down and use it as a hose kind of deals.
Yeah.
And when you take that off, it's got a really tiny little hose to it. So we are currently investigating. At the moment, the water filter is going to have to go on the bathroom tap, but I've had to buy a adapter to do that, which is meant to be arriving today from Amazon.
It's not how big it is, it's what you do with it.
Right.
Okay?
But I have been investigating some reverse osmosis benchtop machines, and I found one that I love, but it's like almost $2,000. But
it would be a lot cheaper to replace that nozzly thing in your kitchen.
I'll show you what it is. It was like, these are, I guess it's because it's new. Reverse osmosis. Hey, Phillips, do you want to sponsor us? Osmosis water station.
You get one sponsor and all of a sudden you're like, ah ha ha ha,
so
everybody.
Is it this one? So basically it makes ice cubes on demand as well.
Wow.
And it makes 8 ice cubes every couple of minutes. So this is the one. There you go. Here we go. $1,800, but it creates ice. It holds like a couple of liters chilled at any time. It does hot water, cold water, and all the temperatures in between.
Okay. Does it crush the ice?
It does do shaved ice.
Well, I'll take 2.
Yeah. Right? How much do you want this now? It takes out fluoride. So I've been investigating this. So you can have crushed ice, purified ice cubes, and it's reverse osmosis, takes out all your bad things, your PFAs, your fluorides, bacteria.
I think we've just unlocked a new level in like entitled problems. Oh no, my reverse osmosis ice making machine has stopped working. Like that.
My shaved ice isn't
We've just unlocked a new level of entitlement.
No, it's funny. I cannot stand tap water. I can't drink it. It's disgusting.
Yeah, this is feral.
So, so guys, help us make more money so I can buy that.
You did check the website to make sure that like we're not in a do not drink, notification.
No, we're fine.
Area.
We don't live in Elwood, but no, it tastes like chlorine.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah. So I don't know. That is one that I'm looking at, but $1,800.
Loz, just make an adapter for your damn filter thing because it's really good.
Yeah,
like that water's great.
It's fantastic and it's on demand. It's straight away.
Yeah, and it comes out of the tap, so it's not like that machine has a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
No, this just comes out of the tap and gets purified by
That's
mains
why it's
pressure.
so brilliant. Yes, so it's going to go in the bathroom for now. Because
Loz, you and I are going to have words.
It's either that or I replace the tap in the kitchen.
Well, that would be a lot cheaper than a reverse osmosis shaved ice maker.
Doesn't a plumber have to change the tap? I'm not allowed to do that.
I don't know.
It's Australia. I'm not allowed to do anything.
If nobody knows, then...
Well, before we get into cousin marriage, here's a fun little clip I found because I call this fuck around find out, but it's fantastic. All right.
Okay.
Hang on. I'll play it from the start. Hang on.
Oh my God. What just happened?
Hang on. I have to do that and...
Oh my God. You okay? Oh my God. Did you put a bomb in there? Maybe. Did you put a bomb in there? I had to do
what I had to do. You keep stealing my packages.
You were gonna kill me over me stealing one of your packages.
I didn't anticipate you dying.
You're insane, dude. You're fucking insane.
I'm insane. Isn't it crazy that you roll up on random people's porches and steal their packages?
You had 2 mechanical pencils last time I stole from you, and you were gonna kill me over something as small as that?
Correction, good sir. I don't have my 2 mechanical pencils because you stole them, sir. You're right.
You're fucking crazy, dude. You're fucking crazy. I'm calling the cops. You're almost kill me, dude.
Call the cops.
Yeah, no.
Call the cops.
Okay. I want to meet that person.
I didn't anticipate you dying.
Correction. I don't have 2 mechanical pencils.
I didn't anticipate you dying. So from now on, I have told the whole podcast talking like this. I love.
Okay, if you didn't already want to move to America, like that's
Correction, I don't have those 2 mechanical pencils.
That's got to stir something on the inside of you,
Oh,
right?
it just makes me warm and fuzzy.
Dear.
Guys, I collect these videos just for you. But before we transition,
We're transitioning. Wow.
on topic, on
Sorry,
brand.
Eddie.
This is Trump apparently making fun of transgenders. Hang on.
We have no men in women's sports.
Hang on.
We have no men in women's sports. Basic things. We're not going to take your child away and change the sex of your child. We're not going to do things like that. What they're doing to the country is so incredible. And they got away with it with all their woke crap, and now it's stopped.
Who's he with?
We have
Mark
no
Carney.
men in women's sports.
Brilliant. Okay, I couldn't tell from here.
basic things.
Okay, yes,
We're not,
good.
We're not going to take your child away and
Yeah.
So
change
Mark
the sex
Carney
of-
apparently has a trans child.
And they are going nuts. So Canada have now had the first time where someone was euthanized for the purpose of organ harvesting. It was, I believe it was a 30-year-old euthanized because they had a autoimmune disease or a neurological disease. I don't quite recall the details. I skim-read it a little while ago. And they took out their heart and reanimated it. So they let them die. They injected them with lethal injection, let them die. After 7 minutes, reanimated the heart and used that as a heart transplant.
Doesn't the lethal injection affect the organs? No?
I'm just telling you what the article
Okay.
said. So what we've got now is a situation where it is okay in Canada for someone to be potentially pressured. You know, they would say, oh, no, there's lots of safeguards in place. But no, hang on. Organ harvesting, this is a thing that used to be like Chinese Communist Party, and even they denied it, right? Even they were like, oh, no, we wouldn't do that sort of stuff. Canada is now getting involved in organ harvesting. They have now made it so that a mature-aged minor can get euthanized without their parents' knowledge or consent, right? This is now law in Canada. And they advertise the fact that they have the most compassionate assisted dying laws in the world right now. Because a minor attracted person, not minor attracted person, that's another topic for another time, a mature age minor might have a condition that makes them want to die, but they don't feel comfortable talking to their parents about it. And so we shouldn't have to involve their parents in their decision to end their life under Canada's ever so compassionate end of life assisted dying for young people who aren't even 18 yet.
I'm trying to digest what you've just told me.
Yeah. No, Canada is like properly bonkers.
What this all boils down to is just a complete abandonment of morality.
This is the death cult that I talk about.
Yeah.
That's
it
what
is
this
a death cult.
This is the death cult.
Yeah. This is barbaric. This is a step from being full Frankenstein.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sick. And, like, guys, drink. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Masters. In my study, right, like you cast the net really wide and then you have to kind of narrow it down. And even though I knew the fundamentals of what I want to uncover, you sort of go on this roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I went down this path that became really, really interesting, which is when I started making these videos where I've deep dived on little topics. And where I want to go after I hand this in is really deep dive on what AI is doing for us, and it's just mirroring what we already have.
Yeah.
So AI in the hands of someone good will do good things. AI in the hands of someone bad will do bad things.
Well, in the hands of, as a proxy for trained on the data of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So, and everyone fears AI because they're like, oh, it's going to be the death of humans. No. Those people already exist.
It's going to amplify.
Correct. And so what I've noticed, particularly when it comes to how people represent themselves online now with AI. So, for example, that sponsor I just told you about, that software can do terrible things if you want to.
Yeah.
It can make your waist this thin.
Yeah.
It can completely erase all your genetic markers on your face. It can do all that. But in the hands of someone who is well equipped to do so, who is psychologically sound, who has values and is moral, they won't do that.
So where are you going to find a person like that?
Well, not me, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think they exist.
Well, this is the thing, right? So with all of these laws and all of these progressive ideas, it is getting to a point where people are literally turning themselves inside out over the most dark, disturbing, Frankensteinish ideas.
And so then you get two different responses to that reality, because that's a reality. Right? People can misuse AI tools, and the power of AI tools is only going to escalate from here. There's nothing we can do about that. That Pandora's box is open. And so there's one of two ways that people can go. Some people are going down the route of we have to regulate, we have to control, we have to write laws, we have to punish, we have to this and we have to that. I would much rather see us go down the route of the shame, the social response, and awareness is a very important part of that.
Yeah.
So that the market for it disappears.
Yeah.
So that people don't actually want to do that to themselves anymore. Let's actually talk about why it is that people think that a homogenized version of themselves is preferable to the real thing.
Yeah.
Let's and that's down at your cultural level, and in fact I'd say that's deeper. That's down at your spiritual level and your identity. And that's right at the fundamental level of human existence. What we're seeing with AI and the misuse of AI and all that stuff, that's a symptom of the rejection of identity. And I would say as identity is God's creation, uniquely made.
Yeah.
And the uniqueness is part of what should be celebrated, not what should be scrubbed using AI. We have an identity problem. An identity crisis that is expressing itself in the transgender movement, is expressing itself in the death cult and viewing death as a solution, and is expressing itself right through to things like AI and the erasing of the things that make us who we are.
Yeah. So people keep saying, why aren't our politicians doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Stop outsourcing all of your autonomy to these people.
And your morality.
Yeah.
You cannot outsource your morality.
You can rebel, and that doesn't necessarily mean breaking laws. And I'm not trying to...
But it can.
It can. And it doesn't mean I'm inciting you. What I'm saying is simple things like what I did Monday. Maybe you don't have to be as aggressive as I was. I'm just a nasty bitch. But at least I can admit it. I've got self-awareness. But just clap back. No, I won't be saying that.
Yeah.
No, I won't be doing your pronouns.
Just no thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a podcast clip that I'll be delicate talking about, but I'll go ham on it one day. It went out on Monday, and it was, how I've talked about how in Melbourne there's this sort of like little exclusive fashion community. It's very incestual, and they won't send the letter back down. It's now so self-congratulatory that they've made a podcast to talk about themselves and the stories in their little incestuous community.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
And I was listening to it, and apart from being completely insufferable, listening to the way they talk about themselves, and this also correlates to Rebecca Judd's new podcast called Vain-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? They want to be seen as authentic whilst deliberately excluding the very things that would actually completely make their house of cards fall.
Yeah.
And I've decided that I just don't care anymore. I'm not going to hold back. And it's the same thing with all of this progressive stuff. Call these people out. Stop trying to bend the knee so that you're either included or you don't upset the apple cart, or that, you for a long time I was like, well, I have to sort of be nice with these people because it'll get me where I want to go. Nah, fuck that. I'll carve my own path.
So, there's a viral little tiny clip of Jeremy Clarkson from one of the episodes of Top Gear where he goes, "Oh no, anyway," and then they just get on with whatever. That's exactly how we need to be responding to, I'm offended. Oh no, anyway.
Yeah. So how I talked about the whole Taylor Swift meltdown on Monday?
I have tried to block that out, but unfortunately I do still recall.
You still recall. It's continued on to the point where I've abandoned my research. It was too much for me. But watching how how seriously they pathologize every tiny micro movement.
Yeah, and they're going through every lyric and all that
Every
stuff.
lyric, every word.
And I love the dog whistle thing because that allows them to interpret into a word whatever meaning they want. So they can win every argument because they just tell you that your words don't mean what they mean. They mean what we say they mean because that was a dog whistle.
So what's the word for that? Because it's like, I've said this on the podcast 100 times. I would happily say exactly what I mean. You don't have to try and extrapolate from my comments.
You don't need a fine-tooth comb to find what I'm talking about.
Like, I will say it full-throated, blunt as shit, right? Whereas these people are like, what she said was this, but what she actually means. And I know because
that's right.
You can read between the lines here. I'm like, you really don't have to. I'm making it easy for you. You know?
Just read the lines.
Yeah.
How about that?
Correct.
Yeah.
My communication is blunt, but it's effective. This convoluted way of thinking. And because I don't normally expose myself to so much like far left freaking nonsense, watching these, and I hate to say it, they're all young women because I don't care about saying the obvious now. They're all young liberal women who have been brainwashed to hate themselves.
Yeah.
And so this one girl, I was watching her speak about it. And all of the buzzwords, she couldn't have fit more buzzwords into that if she tried. You know,
well, she had tried. That was the limit of her capacity.
And all of it was basically about how women need to abandon their sole purpose of their biology, which is procreation, right? And that she kept going and saying, well, this comment here and this meant this and this meant this. And the reason I bring that up is that completely summarizes the left and the way they think about things. So we're going, hey, African youth crime crisis, Pakistani rape gang. And they're like, you said the obvious thing that, you don't need to extrapolate from that. Yeah. But from that, I can see that what you're referring to is poverty over here. And this war was won like 2 decades ago. But then over here, this happened. And then someone tripped over once and my feelings got hurt. And actually what we really need to talk about, this is why nothing gets done.
And they do that because when they are the arbiters of what you actually said, they can win every argument because they can twist your words into saying whatever straw man they need you to have said that they can then counter.
But what's the end goal? Seriously, though, what's the end goal of having trans women in women's spaces? What's the end goal of having young liberal people cutting their genitals off and becoming barren? Like what...
Well, I think you said it before. These people are evil. Not every single one. There are many among their number that are duped. But the people that are actually championing and leading the way are actually evil.
Yeah.
And from a Christian point of view...
Is it extinction? Is that the goal?
Well, okay, so I'm going to get all theological on you again.
No, go for it. Because I honestly, when I look at all this stuff, I'm like, I get that you're going to die on this hill, but for what's the greater cause? What's the motivation?
So Jonathan Cahn wrote a book that I read and found very, very influential. It was exactly in line with what I was already thinking, but Jonathan Cahn had gone deeper into it. It's called The Return of the Gods. And he essentially argues that throughout human history, there have been 3 key kind of archdemons, as it were, known to the Canaanites as Baal, as Ishtar, and as Moloch. Baal is the god of money. Now, historically, we have the humans have worshipped Baal by building either a bronze or a gold bull. That's or a golden calf. That's the statue of Baal, right? So, and we've seen civilizations.
Is that why there's that bull in?
That is exactly why there is a bronze bull in front of Wall Street, because the worship of money and the worship of power is the worship of Baal, and there he is, right there in the middle of our culture, at the place where the most money changes hands, Wall Street. Then you have Moloch. Now, Moloch is the one that they sacrifice children to throughout history. Each of these gods has different names in different cultures. The Romans called them all something different, but you'll see them expressed in everything from South American cultures to ancient Mesopotamian cultures and right across the whole gamut. Moloch was who we sacrificed our children to, as I say we humans sacrificed children to, in the pursuit of a better harvest, in the pursuit of fertility for to be able to have more children, ironically, in the pursuit of these good outcomes. And today we sacrifice children in the pursuit of a degree and a more prosperous career and a bigger paycheck. We're still doing the exact same thing. We do it differently. We think we're so much more sophisticated, but actually we are worshipping these gods. Ishtar was the one that I hadn't joined the dots on, and that's what this book by Jonathan Cahn did for me, Return of the Gods. Ishtar is essentially the god of abandonment of identity, coming back to what we were talking about. The rejection of masculinity, the rejection of femininity. Now, Ishtar was also known as Venus, was also known as Aphrodite, has had a number of different names, but this is the same demonic entity that's been worshipped a million different ways. The the festival of Junium was her festival.
Yeah.
Now, Junium was a calendar month in the 13-month lunar calendar. It doesn't correlate exactly to any specific month in the 12-month Julian calendar, but the nearest correlation is the month of June.
Mm-hmm.
Guess which month we have Pride Month in?
June.
In June. We give an entire month to Pride. Why? We don't give a month to anything else. Why did we pick that one?
And it wasn't Pride one of the 7 deadly sins?
It is one of the 7 deadly sins. But this is a return of the worship of Ishtar.
Yeah.
We've seen this in our culture, and Jonathan Cahn actually ties it back to the Stonewall, I think it was called, riots, which happened in the US to do with a gay nightclub that was being raided by the cops back when being gay was illegal, etc. And he pinpoints it down to a specific date and a specific series of events, and I can't really comment on that. Read the book if that interests you. But I think at a cultural level, it's not a coincidence that we have a celebration that is a month-long celebration about the rejection of the identity that God gave you when he was born. A bit more on Junium. That festival and the temples to Ishtar, the men would dress in dresses and grow their hair and would dance in the processions. The women would shave their heads and wear armor and swords and march in the processions. If you were born as a hermaphrodite, or if you became a castrato or any of these things, you would then get sent off to the service of the temple of Ishtar, because you fit there. You're in that sort of genderless space, as it were. The rejection of your God-given identity and the embracing of gender confusion has been a part of the worship of Ishtar literally for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And it so happens that we happen to have the month of June as our version of Junium in modern society. So Jonathan Cahn's thesis is basically our culture, without realizing it, whilst thinking it's so much more sophisticated than those ancient pagan cultures. We're too smart. God is dead. Well, actually, we are actively worshipping the 3 essentially archdemons, Baal, Moloch, and Ishtar. You can see them all being actively worshipped in our culture today, across all of Western civilization, across the entire world. You can see it. And so these people who get captured by these ideologies, they are the modern day version of a witch doctor, of a shaman, of these people who they'll tell you to kill your kid for a better harvest. They'll tell you whatever. Their lust is for power, for control. And the service, whether they know it or not, their service to these demons is how they are essentially getting what they want in the world, but it's also how those demons are getting what they want through them. Yeah. Evil is real. It exists.
Do you know what's funny is, and I know I've upset people in the past when I've talked about tarot cards, right? Again, masters, drink, go. In this research, what kind of set me off, like the whole reason I decided to go do my masters is because I was trying to understand something that I kept seeing repeated to me in my mostly female clientele. Yeah. And that was this projection of this like girl boss, got it all together, so with it, so intelligent, so successful. The second my camera lens is on them, they crumble. Now, not to like big note myself, but it seems to be exclusive to myself. I've talked to other photographers. I'm like, do you experience this? And they're like, no. Yeah, right. I'm like, what is it about me that makes them feel vulnerable or exposed, right? And I know I'm polarizing, and I'm not trying to say I'm like some godly entity. What I'm saying is there is something about the way I obviously either present to these people or the way I shoot people, photograph people, that makes them feel insecure in their current version of themselves.
Like the armor has become transparent.
Yeah. And I know that because when I shoot people like Jordan or Gordon Ramsay or whoever it is, right? I'm not at all bothered by their celebrity. Yeah. I've never ever felt like, oh, that's such and such. Oh my God. Like I don't behave that way. I know a lot of people do it. I'm not trying to shame people. I'm just saying that whatever that is, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, whoever.
Well, Jordan Peterson used one of your photographs of him, and the feedback that you got was they've never had a photo of him smiling that looked like that. Yeah. So there is independent verification of what you're saying. What I would argue is you are able to photograph people who don't need armor in a way that others aren't. Yeah. But as a result, the people who do need armor, whatever it is, the same thing that gets the best out of the people that don't need armor brings out the worst in the people that do.
So the reason I'd bring this up is because I do believe this is a spiritual issue, right? Now, I'm someone that's always like sort of dabbled in the tarot cards, more so out of fun and curiosity, not from I'm not a witch, you know, I'm not worshipping them. And I know that a lot of people who are Christian listen to this and freak out. I'm like, it's not about that. And I will say to you, please stop getting so deep in things. If I need to tell you something, I'll say it bluntly. I've said this before. You don't need to assume what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's literally not that deep for me. Whereas other people will use the tarot cards and see it literally as some kind of like spiritual
like
fortune
telling or whatever, yeah.
And over the last 5 years, I would say it's probably since COVID, I seem to have attracted a very spiritual clientele. And I mean modern spiritual.
Sure.
These are the people that would go to Byron Bay and they go do retreats and, you know, they tap into their intuition and do all the things, right? Yeah. And I definitely think there's a place for that. Now, in plant medicine, they talk about connection to God. Now, obviously, as a Christian, you think Christian God, but in plant medicine, they talk about God as in Gaia, right? And every religious domination and different sect has their version of God. And I'm not trying to convince anyone either way.
Sure.
But this new modern version of spirituality, which seems to have been very adopted by the modern left, has been co-opted to mean that I am God, right? Me, I'm in. So I have this psychic sense. I have this spirituality about me, and therefore it platforms themselves.
Yeah.
And so, what do they talk about? False prophets or false gods? What's the quote? You know, when they talk about don't idolize false prophets or false gods. It's a quote from the Bible. Something about false.
Well, false prophets would get stoned to death, but there's no specific quote that springs to my mind.
I'll have to get back to you. It's something, but I don't know if it was from the Bible or it's from.
I don't think there's any religion that says, "Oh, you should idolize false prophets."
No. It's saying what happens when you do.
Right.
Or am I thinking it's like a quote from a philosopher?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot in the Bible that talks about not worshiping false gods.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
So what happens with a lot of these people, and I'm just trying to nut this out because I don't have the answer. I'm just, I'm spitballing with you. But what I'm noticing with women specifically, because that's who my major clientele is that they have been discouraged from pursuing, traditional views of God.
Yeah.
They've been discouraged from their biological wiring, which is to have children, to get married.
Yeah.
And they've been pushed into being a girl boss, going and getting educated, doing all the things. And I have done exactly that.
Sure.
I am that person. But in doing all of that stuff, I've never fallen into the cult of feminism or the cult of progressivism. For whatever reason, I've been able to resist it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of my upbringing. But what I'm noticing with a lot of these people, and I speak specifically about women because that's all I can speak to, but the more enamored they are with this modern version of spirituality, the more unhappy and miserable they are. But the more they will try to convince you of this.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people who I've photographed, and I'm not trying to throw my clients under the bus, but I'll work with them like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Mm-hmm. And then something happens where I kind of just get annoyed. I'm like, shut up, grow up, right? Like there's something about their self-consciousness that becomes really irritating.
Yeah.
And I had a client, I think I mentioned this earlier on in the year. This person is a practicing spiritual guru person. I won't say who they are and what they do, but this person, that's their profession.
That's their thing.
This person goes on and on about having all this wisdom, right? Because they have source, right? Source is spirit. Yeah. Spirit is their higher power, their intuition.
The third eye and all that.
Right? So they have that, and that's how they run their career, or that's what their career is built on. Yet under my lens, after this would have been our 8th photo shoot together, this person is the most vain, insecure, small individual, but with this big shell package around them.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where the shoot, I knew how to shoot them, fluffing their feathers, trying to pull them out. Yes, you look amazing, you look great, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, something happened. Hates the photos. First time it's ever happened with this particular person. And I'm looking at the photo compared to 8 other shoots. They all look the same. There is nothing different. The only thing different is this person's got more filler and bits and pieces. And what I'm calling it, over the 3 years that I worked with this person, was their ego has completely
detached.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it's taken over. And this is what I mean about they themselves have seen themselves as God.
Yeah.
Because now they're looking at them as it exists because the camera can't lie.
Yeah, that's right.
And they hate it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, no, I'm only human in the photo.
Yeah. And so that's what my thesis kind of went off into. And I know this has been a good big tangent. But I actually feel like social media is doing that. And this is what I'm arguing. This was my point. Social media and the way that we look at ourselves every single day, because all we do is look at our reflections, particularly the younger generations. They're doing their selfies, they're filming their TikToks, they're always in a screen looking at themselves. They've become obsessed with themselves. This is the story of Narcissus, right? But there's no spirituality or no connection to God or whatever to keep them grounded. And so what you've got is an army of these people who are so self-focused, self-centric. They see themselves as the main character, and that's an incompatibility for the rest of us because everyone's just bouncing around like this. There's so much friction. We've been detached from having relationships, from having children, all the things that take you out of self. Does that make sense?
So there's a lot there. Let me rewind a little bit and touch on a few things because I think you brought up a lot of good stuff. In the original creation,
that's a PhD.
In the original creation before the fall, then creation was in perfect harmony with God's word. It was.
Do you mean the fall of the apple?
So as in before sin was introduced, before the human race disobeyed for the first time. So we were in perfect harmony with God, and all of creation was in perfect harmony with God. There's a couple of key things here. The universe was created. The universe literally means single word or single spoken passage, right? And it was literally spoken by word, and it was Jesus who actually did that. So God the Father created God the Son. He's referred to as the only begotten Son because that's the only thing that God actually made directly. The creation itself was by the Word, which is the Son of God. So God creates the Son of God, Jesus. Jesus creates the universe through speech, his word. So the Word of God literally defined the laws of physics. The Word of God literally defined everything. It wrote the rules under which our universe operates. And the Word of God said, don't eat from that tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There is good and evil, but you don't need to know about it. I want you to have that innocence. Now, Jesus put all of creation under the human race, under Adam explicitly. So that was under our authority. It was ours to manage, ours to curate, ours to look after. And we lived in harmony with God in this garden that he'd made for us, doing simple tasks to maintain that garden and living in harmony. Now, in that context, finding God in nature makes sense, right? But then we disobeyed God, which means we broke his word. Now, what's the universe made out of? God's word. So when you break God's word, what happens? Well, in my view, I believe that the laws of physics actually changed at that point. People say, oh, how could things have been perfect? The universe doesn't work that way. Well, it doesn't work that way now. The law of entropy didn't exist before the fall. We broke something really fundamental. When you break the word of God, you've broken the thing that the universe is made out of. From that point on, finding God in nature makes a lot less sense, right? So I understand the desire, the drive to see God in nature, etc. Well, all you're going to find is a fallen version, is a fallen world, a counterfeit, a lie. So what happened then through Jesus Christ, his death on the cross, was a way was made for us to be restored and reunited with God and adopted back into his family. I'm not going to go through the gospel of Jesus Christ here. But that, for me, when I hear people saying that they're seeking God in nature, these sorts of things, I go, I get it. I do. I understand. This creation is an expression of God's will and God's design, but it's broken now. And so I'm sorry, but you're looking in the wrong place. I understand the desire and the drive to do it, but you're looking in the wrong place. And what happens then, and you touched on it before, these people end up believing that they are God. Which is ultimately the deceit. This is the deceit of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat from that tree, you will be like gods. That was the lie that Satan said to Eve. And so what's happening in the modern context is exactly what Satan said would happen. If you look into creation, if you look to your own wisdom to be able to solve the mysteries of the universe, you will be like God. Well, what happens to the people that are looking deep into the created order? They come to believe that they are God. So when we talk about these things, I see so many fulfillments of what Scripture actually kind of predicted, without explicitly being, this is a prediction for the future. You look at how it happened, and you look at what's happening today, and you're like, well, same thing.
I've just noticed it, and I don't know whether it's because I'm a photographer and my job is to observe, but it's become so that my friendship circles have shrunk so much because I cannot stomach the fakery, if that makes sense. And I understand that that has limited my career. And this is the stupid thing. Like, if I just shut the fuck up, I would probably have the career I want, but I cannot do it.
If you had shut the fuck up, you would have a mediocre career as a photographer in Melbourne, showing up like all the other photographers. You are on a pathway to having something that none of those people will ever have.
$1 billion?
Potentially.
I hope so.
I mean, you've just got to do, if you're really good with merch. You know?
Well, if $1 billion is still worth $1 billion by the time do I get to that, Get to it.
Well, that's the thing. You know that Elon Musk is on track to be the world's first trillionaire, except that he's not.
Yeah, it's Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe had a whole chunk of trillionaires for a while there, you know.
It's just so interesting to me. And it's like, so before you came this morning, I was proofreading my introduction of my thesis. And I hadn't looked at it for about a month, you know, because you do that. You sort of write it and then you go, I'll come back to it. And I reread it. I was like, fuck, this is really profound. I was looking at it with fresh eyes. I was like, oh my God. And then it just sort of clicked in. I was like, oh, this is tying into what's happening on a global scale. It's got so much to do with beauty. Beauty seems superficial when I speak about it, but beauty is representative of God as God intended.
Well,
right?
And creation was beautiful. Creation, it is good. The desire for beauty, the appreciation of beauty, it's a part of the appreciation of excellence, right? Which is something that I believe is godly, trying to be excellent, trying to do things that are beautiful. Now, getting caught up in human vanity is different to beauty.
Yes.
Right? People can be incredibly beautiful without necessarily being aesthetically beautiful. Behavior can be beautiful. People can have a beautiful spirit about them. Their work can be beautiful. Beauty can come in a lot of different forms. But yes, the pursuit of beauty, I believe, is actually God-inspired, God-given. And that is why we see the people that are embracing death and this death cult and rejecting God are actually rejecting beauty. And they are the uglification we've talked about before. They deliberately pursue a look that explicitly rejects the cultural idea of what beautiful is. They're explicitly rejecting any form of God, any form of God's creation, desirability, beauty, excellence. They're rejecting it all.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things here. So this girl I follow on Instagram, she's her handle's called War and Beauty. She's an aesthetic evangelist and she's a Catholic. And
aesthetic. You're going to have to break that down for me. What is an aesthetic evangelist?
So someone who is fighting for beauty, beauty in its traditional views, right?
So literally an evangelist for aesthetically pleasing things.
Beauty as it was prior to modernity.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And so what I love about this, like I was raised in the Catholic
so does that mean
system.
the massive white wigs and stuff that they wore before modernity?
Just more, she's a lot more about architecture and traditional beauty.
I could get behind that. I would love to see much better architecture.
Her account has been fascinating, like just really interesting. She goes really deep into topics and talking about the effort that we put into things versus now what we do. Yeah. And it's so true, right? Like she's showing, the old statues we used to create.
Can you move that across a little bit?
Oh, sorry, you can't say that.
I can't see all of the then. I want the then.
Every time I do this, it freaks out. So I have to do this, and then I have to do that.
Okay, we need to like preload the pictures into the software or something so you're not just screen sharing. All right. Yes, then and now. So the pictures down the bottom, we've got a beautiful painting on the left. What's on the right?
So the right is people riding and breaking windows.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so scrolling across, the stripping, this is actually really worthwhile looking at. The stripping of beauty in our modern world is not just aesthetically regressive, but is a sign of a return to an animal state. Since white box designs took over the West, our behavior has become more primitive and less free. Right?
Interesting.
The design revolution following the world wars was an attack not only on beauty and traditional values, but on true liberty, three principles that are intertwined. At the end of the French Revolution, Friedrich Schiller writes on the aesthetic education of man that political issues can only be solved by cultivating beauty. Man's happiness and wholeness, and therefore society's function and success, depend on the cultivation of the aesthetic state in a man. Schiller says that there are two extreme natures within us, the physical sensual and the rational moral. Because the people are fragmented, the state itself becomes corrupted. The only way to unify these conflicting natures and to ultimately improve the state is for man to become aesthetic.
It's a very, very long bow to draw, but okay.
To Schiller, it is impossible to take a man who is a slave to his senses and make him rational without a transition state, which is the aesthetic. Man's goal is to simultaneously feel as matter and know himself as spirit, and it only exists in beauty, and those two conflicting states exist harmoniously. Schiller states that it is in the extremes of either total censoriousness or total rationality that man becomes a slave. Therefore, it is only in the balance and unification of the aesthetic that he is set free. However, Schiller, who is also a historian, connects the idea that beauty is also an important shaping force on us and moves us from a primitive state. What phenomenon, he says, accompanies the initiation of the savage into humanity? However far we look back into history, the phenomenon is identical among all people who have shaken off slavery of the animal state, the love of appearance, the inclination for dress and for games. As man starts cultivating his appearance and then his surroundings, those surroundings begin to shape him. First, exteriorly in his manners, dress and decor, then interiorly by bringing his dual nature into harmony. The post-war stripping of all ornamentation was stripping of humanity and a return to the splintered state of pure rationality and pure physicality. We went back to a primitive state of existence, all function with zero form. In Tom Wolfe's 1981 book, From Bauhaus to Our House, he describes the rise of avant-garde art and architectural movements in the post-war West based on socialist political ideology that wished to rebuild Europe starting from zero. This reshaping was to occur through aesthetics, as the problems lead up to the war were pinned on the ruling class, who were associated with rich beauty and ornamentation.
How much longer does this go for?
Is this boring you?
We're not supposed to be putting people to sleep. Well, the premise is fundamentally flawed, but the conclusion's actually not wrong.
I just find this really fascinating.
So, look, it is interesting, and we've spoken before about the connection between architecture and music.
Yeah.
The brutalist architecture that came in with the Soviet Revolution, listen to their music. It is similarly heavy. It is similarly blocky and structured in exactly the same way that the brutalist Soviet architecture was. You then go back to your Gothic era, you listen to the music, you look at the architecture, you go, detailed, just there's so much richness contained within it. Your Romantic era, etc. Your architecture has, to a large degree, followed your music. And I've talked before about the fact that music is architecture in fluid form, and architecture is actually just music in solid form. But the argument there is that then extends into as a cultural expression, and I agree with that argument. The business about the physical state or the mental, the rational state, and the sort of the use of aesthetic to merge those two. No, I think he's basically trying to give a secularist version of what the Apostle Paul talks about the war between that which I would do I do not, and that which I don't want to do I do. And the war between sort of your carnal nature, which is essentially the fallen man, because even if you're a Christian, it doesn't mean that you've abandoned the fallen part of your created being. You've still got that, but you're aspiring to the perfection of God and that spiritual existence where you are being perfected. I think he's basically trying to find a rationalist explanation for that conflict that is going on, but that's neither here nor there. The conclusion that a pursuit of aesthetics is going to better our state, I think is putting the cart before the horse. I think if we better our state, we improve our aesthetics. I think that there's a causal relationship inversion there, where they're giving credit to the symptom rather than the cause. If we begin to pursue excellence, then that will show in our architecture, in our music, in our culture, in the cleanliness of our environment, in our technology, etc. If we, to simply say, improving our aesthetics is going to improve our state as humans. No, I think that's a wrong causal relation. I think the causal relationship is wrong.
Okay.
I think you've got to do the inner work first, and then the expression comes out of that inner work.
Do you know why I'll push back on that?
Sure.
Remember that little video we watched a couple of weeks ago? It was that young man who bought a suit.
Yeah.
And just watching him go from, wearing what he would normally wear to wearing that $300 suit.
Yeah.
And he stood 2 inches taller.
Okay.
And felt like a new man.
So let me push back on that. You put people under the lens who have had all the work done, and yet they're this big on the inside. I would say the reason that suit had such an effect is because he bought it out of a rising inside himself.
Yeah, okay.
He himself, that inner work, watching what happened to Charlie, listening to that message, saying, I want to be more like that. The inner work happened first. And then when he put on the suit to match that inner work, or even just to match where he was going with that inner work, it had that effect on him.
Or do you think it's more so like there gets to a point where there's so much friction there between what the external world's telling you to do and how you have to adopt to it through, socials and the expectations of fashion and trends or whatever, and then this unhappiness that you feel because you don't feel like you belong, or even if you're in there, you're not happy. And so you have two options. Either you coalesce and you amalgamate into it, or you resist and then you become the guy in the suit.
I think there's an element that at the individual level. And I guess if enough individuals do that, then that becomes the cultural level. And in a sense, this is what Jordan Peterson has talked about. He's talked, make your bed, blah, 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 but put on a suit. But if you put on a suit without doing the other work, it ultimately won't actually change anything. And this is one of the reasons why I've in a sense, I've become a little bit of a slob externally, which in a way you would say, well, that must mean you must be a slob internally. Actually, I don't value the outward appearance at all.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to sit down with someone and have that interlocutory, debate about anything. You can go as high or low, as spiritual or carnal as you want. I'm happy to have that debate with you. Whether or not I'm wearing a 3-piece suit doesn't actually change a single word that I say or any of the substance that comes out of me. So it's an interesting one. We were just talking about photographing people that have all the veneer, all the appearances that built that as an armor around a tiny little self. Well, the reverse can be true. People can have an enormous amount of substance and get to the point where they just go, well, who cares how I present it? That's so irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't think there's a one set definition about this, but what I would like to contrast it with is Lauren Sanchez, Jeff Bezos' new bride.
Oh, yes.
So this is someone who has the resources of an empire, right?
Yes.
Untold wealth.
And has spent untold wealth on boobs and lips and butts and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is what you get when you're at the pinnacle of the elites, right? Like, she could walk into any room and get it, or at least buy her way in. And this is what happens. Like, I think she was an attractive woman before she started going down this path. Yeah. But is this what happens when you become completely enamored with yourself? She's trying to project onto the people, her plebs, that she is important, that she is someone and she deserves to be there. And realistically, we'd probably take her more seriously if she didn't do all this crap.
I feel incredibly sorry for women that feel the need to go down that path. And is that the effect of Jeff on her? Is that the expectations?
Oh, sorry. Have a look at her face here. Like, it's been so pulled tight, she actually can't.
The bone sculpting underneath and all kinds of nonsense. And
and look at how fake that looks. Hang on, sorry, I'm going to play it again. Just look at her expression.
See women shaming women.
I think it's important. This isn't about. I'm not saying she's ugly. I'm just saying look at her. She's like her eyes.
Yeah. I genuinely feel sorry for people that end up in this situation. What I think this is a manifestation of.
Vacant.
Yeah. I think ultimately the problem that the trophy wife has, because that's what this is. This is a trophy wife situation. The problem that the trophy wife has is that she got there on her looks.
Yeah.
And looks don't last.
Yes.
They just don't, not for men, not for women.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm sorry, it doesn't happen. So if you know that was your ticket in, then if that fades, does that mean you're out? Does that mean you're going to get replaced with a new one?
It's interesting you say that, right? Because you contrast this to modern dating. I know we've talked about this before, but women aren't doing that for men. We tell themselves that women are doing that for men. Women are doing that for other women.
Yeah, for women, yeah.
Right? Because she I don't know how she got Jeff Bezos, and I'm not suggesting that she's not a good person. She might be. I don't know. But men fall in love when they feel like they can be themselves with a woman.
Men largely fall in love with how they're treated by a woman.
Yeah.
That's largely what it actually is.
And obviously there's got to be some attraction and whatnot. But, the face, the expression, the fashion, the hair and all that, like, I guarantee that Jeff would think she's just as hot when she's in her PJs with her hair up in a bun than he does when she's on the red carpet. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe it is a superficial relationship. What do I know? But what I find so interesting is we're talking about this now with the left, and these women are, your Clems and all those people, they're so enamored with presenting a certain way. And obviously even the woke look, right? The blue hair, the septum piercing, that's an identity.
It is still about appearances.
They are so invested with their external appearance. How they are perceived is more important than how they must feel about themselves, because so much effort goes into what they're displaying. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, and it's that then becomes an impossible sort of house of cards. I don't know what the right analogy is. It's an impossible thing to stay on. You are going to fall off.
But then they get angry at you for stereotyping.
Yeah.
They're like, you're saying that anyone with a septum piercing is crazy. I'm like, well,
you can't judge a book by a cover. Well, actually, authors put an awful lot of energy and effort into the cover design specifically to get you to judge a book a certain way and make certain presumptions about what's on the inside.
But that's also like, again, that's denying our biology. And the whole reason we are so judgmental is to just determine whether something is safe or not.
Now, speaking of biology, I do believe we promised that we would talk about the very exciting topic of first cousin marriage.
That was my next one. But I wanted to, before we go into that, because that is a cultural thing, I want to talk about what's going on with this Islam, the rise of Islam.
Right.
And so yesterday in Western Sydney, there was a big congregation of pro-Hamas. And I just want to play this. I think this is the clip. I might be wrong. Let me play it.
So to anyone who comes out with an argument that says Hamas is a terrorist organization, let me tell you that it is internationally recognized that we Palestinians as Hamas have a right to resist ethnic cleansing.
Okay, that's completely ignorant of actual reality. So
they are listed as a terrorist
Hamas
organization.
are listed as a terrorist organization. The what do they call the Islamic Organization of States?
The UAE.
No, not the UAE. It's there's a kind of a multinational Islamic country body. They've called on Hamas to leave Palestine. They have recognized that Hamas are basically occupying Palestine for their own purposes. The Palestinian people and Hamas are not the same thing, and anyone who tries to pretend that this is synonymous, that Hamas and Palestine are the same thing, is working for Hamas, essentially. They are carrying water for Hamas, whether they realize it or not, and I suspect someone in that situation probably does realize it.
I've got this clip as well, so I'm assuming this is the same woman.
I will say it loud as I can. Hamas practices anti-colonialism. Hamas was brought about past colonialism to
To resist Israeli occupation, Hamas fights anti-colonialism.
Okay. You know what's hilarious to me? As all these groups are really starting to bubble out now, and I'll mention the other groups. When I say these groups, I'll mention which other ones I mean. The similarity between the groups that consider themselves to be opposite is becoming so apparent right now. So your Marxists and your Islamists have a long history. They go back hundreds of years of working together in Marxist form, 150 years in Marxist form. And then your Islamists, etc. We see them coming out at the marches all the time. The left is coming out supporting the pro-Palestine marches, and you got gays for Palestine, queers for Palestine, all that kind of nonsense. Why are they such bedfellows? Well, because when you change the language, they are the same thing. And I'm going to add another group, the Nazis, the National Socialists. Change the language between Islam and white man, and they're identical. They are exactly the same. You just change the object of their worship. They are functionally identical. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You realize ultimately militant Islam, militant, fascism, white man, blah, 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 and militant Marxism, these are three different expressions of the exact same belief system. They just have a different, because they're looking in a different direction, they're focusing on a different thing. It's like Arsenal and Man United. They think they're opposites. No, you guys are identical. You've just picked a different color.
What I don't understand, having a look at this crowd, right? I'll play it again. I'll just mute it. So, but look at the crowd of people. Okay, you've got people with hijabs. But have a look at how many average Aussies are in there.
Just whites.
I'm like, just put the niqab on. What's it? The niqab on quickly. What's the thing with the
niqab?
Niqab, sorry.
Niqab is your mate.
Yes, sorry, my bad. Just put the headdress on. Just go. Go full Islamist. Because that's what you're condoning. You're essentially saying that this kind of rhetoric, this extreme rhetoric, which is no different to what ISIS was about, is welcome in Australia, and you want it. Okay, then go on, be an ISIS bride. Off you go.
And they literally picked that day to do it because that was the anniversary of when a bunch of Israelis were murdered and a bunch more were kidnapped. And I think it's about 54 of them are believed to be still alive in captivity, being held 2 years later. This is the day that they decide to come together and preach about how great Hamas is. I mean, I said a while ago when we saw the march across the bridge, and even before that, I was saying if you think you're standing up for Palestine, you are marching for Hamas. Unless you're explicitly saying we need to free the Palestinian people from Hamas.
Yeah.
If you're just, oh no, free Palestine. No, you are marching for Hamas. You are carrying water. Now, up until recently, the protest organizers tried to pretend that wasn't the case.
Yes.
This is an escalation in the sense that now they're literally praising Hamas by name.
Well, this is exactly what I said before. This is the mask off moment. But I just want to draw your attention to this chick here. White chick. She looks like every white Karen you've ever seen, right? She's like, oh yeah, no, I'm here because, it's really important. Like suicidal empathy. If suicidal empathy was a person, it would be this woman here. Yeah. Oh no, it's really important for the children and I don't like people dying and blah, blah, blah. These people are the reasons we are suffering because of these fuckwits. Sorry, that's what you are. If you're going to stand there with these people, these extremists, you get to be condemned. I'm condemning you openly. You are a fuckwit.
Well,
sorry.
Let's not forget that the Greens happily marched under pictures of
the Ayatollah.
The Ayatollah of Iran. These people don't understand the thing that they are actually championing and supporting. The women of Iran want nothing more than to be free of the Ayatollah, but apparently the Greens know better here in Australia and they're going to march under his picture. Here we have people saying, Hamas, we need to be standing for Hamas. No, you need to be standing for the freedom of the Palestinian people from Hamas. Yeah. That's what needs to happen.
So there's so many clips about what came out and what they said, but they are linked to, I've got to read it here, sorry. The Stand for Palestine has spearheaded a fiery campus, who has been spearheading fiery campus protests, militant rhetoric and mass rallies, including at the University of Sydney and the Lakemba Mosque, and has more than 50,000 followers on an Instagram page. The group is linked to Hizbut or Tahrir.
I can't read it from here.
Sorry. A radical Islamist organisation that has been prescribed a terrorist organisation in the UK and banned in countries such as Germany, but totally okay for them to operate here in Australia. Though critics warn its rhetoric glorifies terrorism and undermines social cohesion. They are a global Islamist political organisation founded in 1953 with the primary goal of re-establishing a unified Islamic caliphate governed by Sharia law. In February, the group defended the 2 nurses at Bankstown Hospital who were filmed expressing a desire to harm Israeli patients. And you've got fuckwits like Clem Ford and Abby Chatfield, sorry, you knew I was going to bring it up, who stand by this shit. This is why I say you got to bring back shame. These people need to be condemned. You need to not be afraid of being called a racist for condemning this shit.
Can we talk about the Goblin of Doom?
Oh, God. Fuck. I was trying so hard to get away from
But
it.
her little picture was there. She was sneak peeking through. Just scroll up a little bit. Scroll up. There, Goblin of Doom.
Oh, hang on.
The Doom Goblin.
I did pull her up. Where is she? I had something. I was like, anything but her, anything but Doom Goblin. Look, all right, I'll find this as you tell us.
I used to have some sympathy for Greta Thunberg, for those that aren't sure. No, I used to have some sympathy because she was literally used as a teenager as a prop. Her parents groomed her and used her for their own enrichment and for their own social circles and social accomplishments. And she didn't understand early on. She when you're, 13, 14, 15, when she first got thrust out into the limelight, you don't understand. And you trust your parents and you think that they're right about everything up until a certain point and then they're wrong about everything. But she was in that phase and she was used as a prop. And I have sympathy for that. But she's old enough now. She knows. And she's seen enough of the world that she has to know that a lot of what she's doing is absurd. It's over the top. Even if she believes what she's saying about Israel and all the rest of it, which I'm not convinced that she does, but even if she did, she's got to understand that her little flotilla of boats is not going to make a lick of difference. She's also outed herself so many times as a complete liar, an absolute fabricator. We saw the claims that they were attacked by drones. The flotilla was attacked by drones in Tunisia, right? When actually it was one of their own idiots on board who fired off a flare that didn't quite work properly and that ended up on one of the boats. No, it had to be drones. We're being attacked. We're under attack. They jump on their boats. When the Israelis actually boarded, was it you that was telling me this? I don't remember.
Yes, I'm trying to pull up the video.
They were looking around saying, where's the aid? Where's the aid, right? I think that was you that was telling me that.
I'm looking for the video
So there
now.
they were saying, we're bringing aid, we're bringing humanitarian relief. Well, sorry, you're not doing it that way. Even if they were loaded to the gills, they weren't bringing a meaningful amount of humanitarian relief. But apparently they weren't even loaded to the gills. Then she says, oh, I was in a insect-infested cell and horribly mistreated. I've been tortured. I've been physically abused, blah, blah, blah. I highly doubt that any of that is true.
Yeah.
I really highly doubt that any of that is going to be true. She has a long history of lying, grandstanding, making it all about herself, playing the victim, all the rest of it. But for her to come out, and again, the same day as they chose, that rally that we just watched, they chose October the 7th. She happens to get released on October the 7th. Now, that wasn't her choice, but she then turns around and says, I've been a prisoner for 4 days. Pity me. This is so horrible. Look at my horrible mistreatment. Oh, but this isn't about me.
Yeah.
I love
but
that
I'll
she always...
center myself in it.
I love how she always says that. Oh, but this really isn't about me, having just made it all about her. Yeah, you're right, Greta. This isn't about you. Let's start with the 54 people that have now spent 2 years in genuine horrific subhuman conditions at the hands of Hamas. And then once we finish talking about them, let's talk about the ones that have died in captivity since October the 7th, 2 years ago. Then when we're done talking about them and making it about them, let's talk about the people who died on October 7th, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then after we finish talking about them,
they still deny it.
Let's talk about all of what has happened between Israel and Palestine since the Israeli retaliation began and their efforts to oust Hamas. Let's talk about the casualties, yes, on both sides. Yes, the suffering that is happening in Palestine. The people of Palestine have been horrifically oppressed by Hamas. And Hamas uses them as human shields. They set up their headquarters in hospitals and they set up their weapons in apartment buildings. They try and put the Israeli army as often as they can into lose-lose situations where the Israeli army has to make some really horrific, trolley problem decisions. That trolley problem of, well, if you don't, then 5 people die. But if you do, then 3 people die. But they're different people. Do you pull the lever? Like Hamas is trying to make those trolley problems real for the Israeli military as often as they can. Let's talk about all of that. Let's talk about the suffering of the Palestinian people, because that is true.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the fact that Hamas are confiscating aid and making sure that it doesn't get through and actually attacking people that do go to collect aid where aid does get in. They're actually shooting at their Palestinian people for going and getting the aid because they want to have control of all the food themselves. Let's talk about all of that. And then maybe if there's any time left, we'll get to your 4 days in captivity.
So this is the video from the IDF soldier that I had.
I'm sure you guys can guess where I am because it's pretty much an empty room. That's right, I'm inside one of the vessels, one of the largest vessels to come in this Yom Kippur flotilla. And while we're processing this boat, there's one thing missing, guys. All this aid that they were supposed to bring into Gaza, which explains one thing to me, I'm sure it explains to you, that when we and multiple other countries offered them to take this aid and bring it to the Gazans, we could facilitate its safe arrival, they flat out rejected it. And now we know why, because it was never about bringing aid to Gazans, but it was all about the headlines and the social media followings.
Yep.
And I think that actually
100%.
sums up Greta's involvement in all of this too. Yep. Like, I know with anything to do with the war, it's propaganda and each side's going to like try and paint things the way they want it to be perceived. But when it comes to your Gretas, your Clems and all of these people who have made Palestine their new personality, it's all performative. None of them fucking care. Why isn't Clem over there?
Yeah.
It's like she's one of the most outspoken people about Palestine. She's doing so from the comfort of her Brunswick apartment.
Yeah. And if anyone thinks that they actually care about Palestine, just give Volodymyr Zelensky a call and see how he's feeling about the support that he enjoyed from the left.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
The forgotten love child.
Yeah. Oh, but poor thing. He needs more money.
That's right.
He needs more money.
Just needs more wet weapons, boys, and more ammo.
I know I've showed this before, I think, but just looking at this again. This is the people that we're beholden to. This is the left. These are the people that we have to fucking tolerate. And because of this shit, we now have all of these problems. This is why I'm going to keep saying it this whole episode. This episode is just going to be called Shame.
Where's Dylan Mulvaney?
Well, there's only so many people we can fit in a square.
Dylan the Dill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who Dylan the Dill actually dressed up as a man the other day because now he gets to cosplay as both. Because
no, hang on. Does that mean that he's actually he's a woman man wearing man face? He's a trans woman wearing. See, you know what?
I'm not insane enough to understand. To be honest.
I used to think that the plot of time travel movies was always really convoluted because it's like, well, who affects what and what happened before the other. Well, I tell you what, the plot of like trans lives is just as confusing now.
Yeah, and this little meme, same thing. This is it.
Yeah. That is exactly what's happening.
Speaking of the internet, something we have not talked about, which.
No, we've talked about everything.
No, we haven't. We haven't talked about the resurrection of Milo Yiannopoulos.
Well, that's true. We haven't talked about the resurrection of Milo Yiannopoulos.
How do you feel about Milo?
Look, I actually haven't watched a huge amount of his stuff, to be honest. When he came to Australia back in the day, and they tried to charge them a bunch of money for the security, and Victoria Police tried to bankrupt the, I think it was it True Arrow Events? Or so it was one of those guys that brought them in. Ended up with court cases and all the rest of it. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to the culture stuff back then.
Would you like some more pool water?
I would like some more pool water, thank you, but don't pour it on the road desk, please.
I'll try not to.
I'll put my hand there so that you don't drip on this expensive piece of electronics. That'll do. I'll tell you what, anyone listening to this is going to need to pee all of a sudden. The sound of running water. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to culture war stuff back then, and he was kind of just an oddity on the fringe. He's saying stuff broadly. I mean, I didn't hear a lot of his stuff, but the stuff I heard.
You know what he did to Clem Ford?
No, I don't.
He. Shall I find it? He called her unfuckable. Hang on.
Oh yes, I did hear about that.
Yeah,
yes.
Milo. Yeah, Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, fine. That's just the argy-bargy of words.
Well, what he is a troll. Like I've listened, like a bit like Andrew Tate, a bit like Bonnie Blue. Occasionally they say something, you're like,
yeah, maybe, yeah.
But I think Milo's actually incredibly smart. Like he's
Milo's
an
a
idiot.
genius. That's part of why he's so weird. Yes.
Yeah, and he was gay and now he's no longer gay. And
really? He's had a
come to Jesus moment.
Well, I was going to say that, and I was like, that's probably not quite the right expression in Milo's case. But we were talking before talking on Monday about how Taylor Swift, all of a sudden, now that she's found the butch man, she's like,
yes.
Oh, okay, yes, I will put a bun in the oven.
Yeah.
Maybe he's found his version of that.
Well, isn't it interesting how the left punishes you for finally landing on who it is that you feel you want to be? Like, it's all you're free to be yourself, but not that one.
Yeah, that's right.
Not the one that we, we don't agree with.
Not if yourself is a cis-het, masculine male or feminine female. Yeah.
And just on that whole, I hate it when they censor things. Bloody stupid. This is what they did. Can you see that? It's Clem.
Really?
Clem is a teenager and it says unfuckable. Unfuckable, sorry.
Yeah. Because we'd all be terribly offended by that word. Like, it's just, we can't have that on the internet.
Can't say the word fuck.
So he's actually, the reason he's back is because he reactivate his account recently?
He got reinstated by X not so long ago.
Okay.
But he had,
I thought that was a while ago, but he just kind of didn't bother.
Yeah, it didn't do much.
Yeah.
He'd retired, basically. Like, they'd made life hell for him.
Yeah.
And he was appearing every now and then. He'd pop on, because he worked with Kanye West for a while there. That was very weird.
Yeah.
And Nick Fuentes, and then they had a massive falling out. Now he calls Nick Fuentes a piece of shit and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But then Milo appeared on Timcast.
Okay.
And I rate him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, when he's on Timcast, I was like, this guy's smart.
Yeah.
And he plays into the troll thing. And the reason I brought the troll thing up is, like, I actually think we need more of that. More JD Vance, more Donald Trump, more Pete Hegseth, more Milo and Candace and people like, yeah, okay, some of the stuff they say is quite outlandish, but good, stop being so offended by words.
So you know what it is? It's Sacha Baron Cohen, but done as like method acting. You know how they live the role. Milo is basically, he's Sacha Baron Cohen if he never broke character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just, this is a Sacha Baron Cohen character.
I think so, and I think you just need these people. So, oh God, not to bring her up. Gee, don't hate me.
He already does. Fine.
So Abby put out another video, and the only reason I saw it is because Retard Finder shared it, and in it she was arguing, and it's like she's so close to uncovering it, right? She's so close. Yeah. She's saying how like her new trolling is no longer a troll. It's no longer to be hip or edgy on the internet. It's abuse, right? So everyone that's messaging her and disagreeing with her are abusers.
We're all abusive. Okay.
And we'd all be abusers in the real world too. Okay. It's not just the internet.
Yeah.
And so essentially anyone that pushes back on Abby Chatfield is this kind of like domestic violence perpetrator. And she went on to say something like, you know, all of us, because we're all in the same group, all of us crazy, conservative, right-leaning, we don't understand truth or logic or facts.
Right.
And even facts we argue against. And the way she said it, and I found this fascinating. I won't play it. I don't want to bring her face up. But she was like, even facts that are solidified, facts that we know, they argue against the facts. And I'm like...
You know, if she ever retires, you could just take over her socials.
I could fit right in. No one would know the difference.
Yeah.
And she also does it with like her mannerisms where she's all like tweaky.
Did she twerk her butt at you at one point?
I didn't watch the whole thing. It went for 5 minutes. But
goodness.
she was basically saying that, we're arguing with the facts. I'm like, well, you're so close, Abby, because the facts that you're cherry picking
That's right.
are backed by certain people. And we're arguing that the facts that you are attaching yourself to aren't necessarily found in... You can say it's fact. Doesn't mean it's fact. You know?
It's so funny to watch this play out. And, I'm quite involved in the climate change space. And watching different groups of people select which facts they want to bring up.
I'll give you this, and I know this just from reading so many academic papers in the last 18 months, is that you can see the bias because without fail, if a paper's been written post-2020, Trump somehow gets brought into it. I was literally reading one this morning, and it was about social media beauty, and maxillofacial surgery, right? Okay. It's from the Journal of Maxillofacial and Oral Surgery.
Wow, you wild thing.
Riveting stuff.
Yeah.
But it was interesting, and then as soon as I saw Trump's name, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, I know you're biased now. Come on. Like, it's so...
Find a new enemy. Come up with something more creative.
But I do have some good news because,
What's that?
like, it's nice to see other people in the world are doing well.
I'm a white gay Muslim convert and I'm finally at peace. Okay. I mean...
How's that going to work out for you,
He's just got to move to Palestine and then he'll be at peace forever.
Or Iran.
Or Iran.
Afghanistan.
He'll never
Syria.
He'll never be out of peace.
Yeah.
Might be in pieces, but he'll
Might
never
be in
out of
pieces?
peace. Yeah.
What is this? Is this delusion? Is this low IQ? Is this brainwashing?
So where is this published? What are we looking at here?
I just found this on X.
So I look at that and go, okay, why did you feel the need to write an article about it? And what's the causal relationship here? Are you writing an article because you became that thing and had those experiences and now you feel the way you do? Or did you do that thing so that you would have an article to write?
Metro UK.
Right. So Metro, so that's the same as the Metro over here. So, what's the causal relationship here? Were you, who is this guy beforehand? Is he already someone who's writing? Does he have an audience to pander to? All that stuff. Because you just feel like he's trying to tick as many of the minority boxes as he can.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. The only thing he needs to be is trans.
He's probably working towards it.
And also he's not black.
Well, he can't change that. But what he's
no, he can claim Indigenous heritage.
Well, true.
I mean, he's got a red beard, but he could say that he's, he's Indigenous.
Queer, Muslim, what's it say?
And proud.
And proud, yeah.
On this morning, I love this word.
Buddy.
On that morning, I felt squarely at the intersection of being a convert, gay, and from a white family.
Good Lord. Intersectionalism, literally, like, I mean, you were saying before.
I didn't know what that meant until I was like, I know what an intersection is, but I'm like, what is this intersectionality?
Yeah, intersectionality.
And this is just where all of these
But that's the totem pole. The more you can sit precisely on the intersection of multiple minority categories, the further up the totem pole you are.
It's like this weird Venn diagram where things just... Because they keep saying it, the intersectionality of this. I'm like, what?
Yep.
What it is like people, when people get crazy in the movies and they show like fast montage of the string and then the newspaper clippings and they're trying to figure out. That's what it is. It's just made up nonsense.
All right, I'm fading. My headache tablets are wearing off and I'm starting to struggle. So I'm sorry.
Do you want to talk about first cousin marriage then?
Well, let's get to that because we did promise everybody that you know what? On Monday, we told everybody that it was going to be all about
eKaren,
and then we never talked about her.
And we still haven't talked about it.
Okay, so we have to do that.
Do you want me to go get you some headache tablets? Whilst you bring us up to speed, I'm going to do that for you.
Okay, I bring us up to speed with what? First cousin marriage or eKaren?
eKaren.
All right, let's do that first. Boy, I must be versatile. Hey, do you want to talk about first cousin marriage or do you want to talk about the censorship of Australians?
We need a weird.
All right, so what we've got is a situation where the eKaren in Australia has once again tried to censor the world and is given a takedown notice. I'm just going to look over here and pretend that Carly's there even though she's not because, why not? She's decided that she's going to take over the world's internet once again and take down all of the posts on X specifically. And I misspoke actually in a video. It wasn't actually on a mix of platforms. It was just on X. targeting a bunch of people that had reposted the video of the stabbing of Irina Zarutska. Now, this is the girl who was stabbed, the Ukrainian refugee who was stabbed to death on a train by a massive black dude with a dozen or 14 or something prior arrests and a history of violence and a history of mental illness, and he was back out on the street for the same reasons why Victoria keep releasing their violent criminals. She was stabbed to death. Now, interestingly, that didn't go viral straight away. The stabbing happened, the murder happened, the CCTV footage was released, and for about 3 weeks, nothing happened. No one knew. Thank you for just walking straight through the middle of my camera and reminding everybody that I'm currently talking to... Hey, G, she's putting on a show for me.
As you were.
That I was talking to a blank space. I got a blank space over here.
I got a blank space,
yeah, exactly.
baby.
Tay-tay. So it took about 3 weeks, and then it was picked up by an American alternative media, alternative news website, and it was posted by them, and it went massively viral. Can I get 2 ibuprofen and 2...
I was going to say, this is actual migraine medication. Do you have a migraine? That's like actual...
No, because I don't have the big blotchiness. I've got a really bad headache, but it is still a headache.
Okay, so that's what you take at the first onset of a migraine, so no?
I'll stick with this. Usually this works pretty well for me. Excuse us while we... Ibuprofen lysine. I've not had that.
Super quick.
Okay, all right, well...
People are going to be like, Carly is a pharmacy.
Thank you for being my drug dealer, Carly. Excuse me, everybody. While
do you know what it is? I have no patience for pain.
Yeah.
I don't. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, no tolerance, no threshold.
No.
So
Can't be fucked.
It went viral, and rightly so, and people were outraged. But now they were doubly outraged. They were outraged at the murder itself and the fact that he should have been behind bars and all of that. But they were also now outraged at the mainstream media blackout, and that's why this thing went super mega viral. Video got shared everywhere. Now, I've got to admit, I was a little bit surprised that the video was being shared as uncensored as it was, as much as it was.
Yeah.
Like, this is a pretty, it was a little bit like the Charlie Kirk thing, which obviously came a little bit later on. But, the video was, I mean, I was a bit surprised. Even platforms and mainstream media that I would have thought would normally have censored it were not. However, what happened because of that campaign that came around that, they started doing murals. They raised $1 million Elon Musk put in $1 million and other people put in huge amounts of money to fund murals that are getting painted all over the US right now to say her name, because the mainstream media had tried to not say her name. They'd tried to basically forget that she ever existed. And so in that context, then, the eKaren, who has an axe to grind against Elon Musk, has issued a takedown notice for a 30-something, I think it was, X posts explicitly that show the video of the stabbing of Irina Zarutska. Interestingly, not a single one of those accounts, to my knowledge, was Australian. She's targeted overseas accounts that have posted video of a Ukrainian girl getting stabbed to death in America.
I don't understand. I do understand how she got to her position, but how is this allowed? Firstly, okay, I know she's dual citizen, but she's an American ex-Twitter executive who's been parachuted into this very prestigious role and seems to have unfettered power to determine what the entire world sees on X.
Now, the question is, how did she get there? The post turtle. If you see a turtle sitting up on a fence post, you don't know how it got there, but you know it didn't get there by itself. That is definitely the case with her. Now, the e-safety commissioner was invented by Scott Morrison with bipartisan support, and I think she was actually appointed by Scott Morrison, but don't quote me on that. From 2014 to 16, she worked for Twitter. Now, she was basically the originator of a lot of their safety, their trust and safety department. She ran a lot of that until 2016. She moved on to greener pastures. When Musk came in, within hours, he was firing people from the trust and safety department. This is 2020.
Yeah, I remember all that.
Was it when he took over, I think?
22.
He starts firing trust and safety people. They do the whole speech not reach thing, and then ultimately what actually causes even that to be abandoned by Musk was when they tried to suppress the D-Trans documentary by PragerU, and then the What Is a Woman documentary, and that was ultimately when Musk just turned around and said, screw you all.
Yeah,
You're done. And he, of course, did that because he has a daughter who's been sent down the train rabbit hole by
son,
her mother.
Who became,
son, sorry, yes. Yeah, thank you. And And so that was very personal for him. And that was the end of Julie Inman Grant's work. So the e-safety commissioner, her name is Julie Inman Grant. Her work that she started in 2014 ended in 2022 with essentially the complete neutering of the Trust and Safety Office. And now all they do is the actual stuff like dealing with pedophilia and all the rest of that. So what she has sought to do, and the reason why I think she's targeting X, that video is all over TikTok.
Yeah.
The video's all over, other platforms. She hasn't targeted them. She's targeted X. She's trying to use her position with the Australian government on the Australian taxpayer's dime to essentially replace herself at Twitter. She's trying to be the Trust and Safety Department of Twitter from afar.
This is such an overreach, but also the ego on her. But wasn't it just a couple of months ago that there's this massive story around her using her office to try and remove posts about her specifically?
So I don't know about removing, but she's used her office to keep tabs on people. So they've stored an enormous amount of information.
Yeah.
Now, this came out because of the Free Speech Union.
Yes.
Dr. Ruben Kirkham, I did an interview with him, and I have another interview with him that's about to come out to do with a slightly different thing that I'll talk about in a sec. But they set up a website where it just made it easy for people to do freedom of information requests to the e-safety office, asking them, what do you have on me? What have you kept? Now, that's a reasonable thing for a taxpayer to want to know from a taxpayer-funded department who's not supposed to be keeping tabs on anyone, by the way. That's not a part of her remit.
Yeah.
And then the responses that came back started to become quite astonishing. There were people with thousands of pages that the eKaren had kept about them specifically. And typically it was the people that had been criticising the eKaren.
Yeah.
These weren't people who were committing acts that other Australians were complaining about. These were people who were speaking about her.
Yeah.
So I would imagine I've probably got a fair bit on there as well. What she has started to do is she's actually starting to refuse, or her office is refusing the Freedom of Information requests on the basis that it would take them too much time to go through every document and redact what needs to be removed and redacted from the information before providing it to you. So now she's admitting that she's got vast amounts of data that's been hoovered up without any real quality control. They don't even know what's in there.
Yep.
And it would take them too long to even go through it to redact it.
She's absolutely losing every battle though, because
she is.
Yeah.
And
I was, like I said, I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention apart from what you'd put out and what I'd seen.
Yeah.
But now I'm really invested in this story because this bitch, I'm going to call her a bitch because she is one, just needs to be shown her place and also be shown the door.
She needs to be shown the door. That whole office needs to be shut down.
Abolished,
You said she's losing everywhere, and she actually literally is.
Yeah.
So let's go through a couple of the cases. So she was taken on by Billboard Chris. So you remember Billboard Chris made some comments about, what was his name, Teddy Cook, who's this weirdo who had been given a high-level position with the UN to do with transgender treatment or whatever. I don't remember the details on that. And he'd simply called him. And that was offensive, and the e-safety commissioner deemed that to be all the reason that she needed to censor Billboard Chris. Chris sued and was backed by Elon Musk.
Yeah.
All right, and this is important. It was backed by Elon Musk. They have a grudge. The e-safety commissioner and Elon Musk have a grudge. There is something personal about this, and that matters. That's actually a really good thing for us going forward. The e-safety commissioner lost that case, and ultimately everything got thrown out, and Billboard Chris was fine, and all the posts had to be reinstated and left alone. Now, we've also seen her try and censor the stabbing of Bishop Mamari, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
So she tried to have all those videos taken down. Now, X refused to take them down, but they did geo-block them. And I'm a little bit grumpy at Elon Musk for this, but anyway, he has other battles to fight as well. What that meant was essentially the e-safety commissioner kind of won that battle, because at least it wasn't being shown to Australians anymore. She lost in the sense, so what happened then, as soon as it was geo-blocked in Australia, the e-safety commissioner withdrew the global takedown order.
Yeah.
And by doing that, she avoided it ever having to go to a decision, a tribunal, to actually determine whether she has that power or not, because she manifestly does not.
Yeah.
Right. And she knew that once it was geo-blocked in Australia, she no longer had standing, so she withdrew the case. Right?
So you obviously saw this. This is the
so this is the latest round. So this is to do with the takedown order for the Irina Zarutska videos.
So we're writing to inform you that X has received a legal demand from the Australian e-safety commissioner regarding your X account that claims the following content violates Australian law. If you weren't Australian and you got this, wouldn't you just be like, fuck off?
So can you go to her actual post? Because what she says about this is perfect. If that's the Eva, So click on that. That bottom paragraph there to summarise. Read what that says.
To summarise that for you, Australians are paying taxes so that bureaucrats bureaucrats can censor posts from European activists talking about the murder of a Ukrainian woman in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how absurd this is. But I want to stay on this for a little bit longer because this is a rabbit hole worth diving down. So because the Free Speech Union had set up that tool that helped people to lodge freedom of information requests, the eKaren herself, Julie Inman Grant, this is how petty she is. She was over in America. She made some very disparaging and, in my personal opinion, defamatory remarks about the Free Speech Union.
Mm-hmm.
So the Free Speech Union then sued her, then basically complained to her about her.
Yeah.
So the eSafety office is where you go if you're being subjected to online bullying.
Yes.
So they lodged an online bullying complaint about the words of Julie Inman Grant to Julie Inman Grant. What she did was say, well, we're not going to make a decision about this, right? Which is her default cop-out, right? So if she makes a decision, either this was bullying or this was not bullying, two things happen. One, she has to give a statement of reasons for why she's made the decision. And two, her decision can be appealed to the tribunal.
Yeah.
And there's a tribunal that sits above her, basically. But if she never makes a decision, oh, well, you can't go to the tribunal because there's no decision for you to appeal. So Australians that have gone to the eSafety Commissioner, and there are tens of thousands now, with complaints about something that's been done or said online, keep getting this response, no decision, no decision, no decision. And she keeps saying, well, you can't appeal. So she's not doing her actual job, but she is hoovering up all sorts of pages of information about people who are talking about her online.
How does she have the jurisdiction to demand that X do something over a citizen in Europe?
She doesn't.
But
it's never been tested at law because she withdraws.
Right.
Right.
So she's trying to bully so that they comply and just take the path of least resistance, just do what they say, or
I believe that we've identified another genuine narcissist. That's my personal view based on her behaviour. Now, a few things to bolster that. Number one, have a look at how quick her staff turnover is. Her department, the eSafety office, is turning over staff so fast, and we know that because they're continuously advertising for more staff.
Yeah.
So her staff turnover is absolutely enormous. Also, she fails to when she actually gives her decisions and makes her demands and files things in court, it is a dog's breakfast.
Yeah.
And watch my interviews with the Free Speech Union with Ruben Kirkham, Dr. Ruben Kirkham, for where he gives some details on that. That she doesn't know how to do her job. She can't even cross her own T's and dot her own I's. But I want to just stay on this story for a little bit longer. I'm sorry for anyone that's already watched some of these videos that I put online. But so the Free Speech Union lodged a bullying complaint, a cyberbullying complaint, against the eSafety Commissioner's office to the eSafety Commissioner's office, and the eSafety Commissioner said, we're not going to make a decision.
Yeah.
He then said, well, I'm taking it to the tribunal, and they said, well, you can't because we haven't made a decision. So he said, well, now you've made a decision, and the decision is that I can't take it to the tribunal, so I'm taking that decision to the tribunal. Right?
5D chess, yeah.
So he got it into the tribunal, and the tribunal were not complimentary towards the eSafety Commissioner at all, saying that they found her reasoning, I think the expression was very irregular, but it was one of those very nice sounding bureaucratic things of like, you fucking nonce.
Yeah.
Like, this is stupid. Would you please stop? And they found that in fact she does have to give a statement of reasons, and she does actually have to make a decision, and she can't get away with this kind of, I can't go to the tribunal because I haven't made a decision nonsense.
Yeah.
So since then, they have received a statement of reasons as to why they have said that the eKaren has said that what the eKaren said wasn't cyberbullying, but she's now had to give a statement of reasons, which means that it can now go to the tribunal, and it's working its way through that process. But the hilarious thing, Dr. Ruben Kirkham of the Free Speech Union is doing all of this representing himself.
Yeah.
And he's not a lawyer.
Yeah.
The eKaren office is such a dog's breakfast, and she comes in there with high-powered QCs and all kinds of nonsense. They cannot put together a good legal defense with all of the money and resources they have available to them against one dude who's like, this is interesting. I might play this game for a little while. She is an absolute disaster. Her office is a disaster. And she is stoking a war, a direct confrontation between herself and Elon Musk. And she's going to do it with the under-16s ban that comes in on December 10th. Here's how this is going to play out. The platforms are going to say, we have complied. We have taken reasonable steps. It doesn't say what the reasonable steps have to be. It just says reasonable steps. We've taken reasonable steps to ensure that users are over 16. She's going to say, no, your steps are not reasonable. You've not done enough, because they're going to use a lot of automated processes. They don't want to lose users. YouTube doesn't want to boot half of its Australian accounts off. So they're going to find as many ways as possible to not push people through some sort of a verification process. They'll look at how long the account has existed for. They'll look at the kinds of videos being watched. They'll look at all that stuff and say, okay, we're satisfied that you're over a certain age and we're not going to put you through this approval process. So as a result of that, the eKaren, I believe, is going to turn around and say, no, you haven't done enough. You haven't taken reasonable steps. And the big tech companies are going to say, well, sue me.
Yeah.
And she will.
Yeah.
At that point, what she will have done is picked a fight, and she will go looking for a fight with Elon Musk. Right? She wants one. She wants a legal showdown, and she actually believes that she would win. But that is immediately going to drag in the other tech companies, so Meta and Alphabet as well, which is immediately going to drag in the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who has explicitly said in tweets that were published on X, ironically, that they will use international diplomacy as a tool for defending fundamental freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is really important. Diplomacy is external. So he's not talking about internal freedoms for the American people. He's talking about defending fundamental freedoms using American diplomacy.
Yeah.
External. So Marco Rubio will get involved, guaranteed. JD Vance will get involved. Let's not forget that he's the reason why the UK government backed down on their demand that Apple give them a backdoor through their encryption. JD Vance will personally get involved. He will be in like Flynn. He will be in with bells on. And Donald Trump will end up being roped into this as well. All versus the e-safety commissioner and Anthony Albanese.
Yeah.
I don't like their chances. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be such a freaking train wreck. It'll probably take 2 years to play out, and it'll start off slowly. It'll start off probably late December, sometime maybe in January. The e-safety commissioner will be telling the tech companies, you haven't done enough, blah, blah, blah. It'll roll on. It'll be this slow bureaucratic process, but I am here for it. I am stocked up on popcorn. This is going to be the showdown of the century. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Sorry to bore everybody that's not into this stuff, but I am into this stuff, and I'm pumped.
Yeah. I'm just fascinated. I mean, there's so many things to be concerned with. That's one of the ones that I've always sort of just seen what you've put out and gone like, oh yeah. But when I saw that outrageous expectation that everyone worldwide will bend to her requirements, I just don't understand how there's our position in our government that's unelected where someone has that kind of unfettered power. I don't understand.
Well, she doesn't have that power. What she has is the ego.
Yeah, she thinks she has it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I do have more things to talk about. Do you want to talk about this first? What I keep saying the first cousin marriage.
Look, let's touch on it briefly. The UK has legalised first cousin marriage basically because the Islamists told them to.
Yes.
That's essentially what it amounts to. It's really badly written and could actually mean that incest is legal as well. What's interesting to me is how commonly ideologies that reject God, reject the created order, arrive at the idea of inbreeding as a method to achieve superiority.
Yep.
And when the biological reality is, of course, it's the opposite. If you were just breeding purely for strength of genetic stock, you would try and match up breeding pairs that are as diverse as possible.
Yeah.
That's an area where diversity really is strength, right? Diversity of genetic input into a child means you're far less likely to have a genetic expression of some sort of a congenital condition. So if you have first cousins marrying, there's approximately a 6% chance that they're going to have a serious deformity of some sort as a result of a congenital defect that was shared between their gene codes that then gets passed down to the child. The Nazis famously, of course, were trying to breed the master race. They were getting the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, tall, blah, blah, blah people, breeding them together in their camps. This is something that's probably not spoken about enough, they literally were trying to breed a master race through inbreeding, and their results were exactly what you would expect them to be. Charles Darwin himself actually married his first cousin.
Yes.
Now, he was someone who obviously was studying nature and studying breeding and studying all of that. And after he'd married her and that started to have kids, and particularly after his first child died when she was 10, he began to realize that as he did his experiments in his greenhouse, his plants needed new genetic input. He couldn't just keep breeding the same plants, and generations of the same plants between each other. It went horribly wrong. And he began to question, and this is on record in letters that he wrote, he began to say, I think there's a problem here.
Yeah.
Now, they had 10 children together, him and his wife, who was his first cousin. They had 10 children, 3 of which died at age 10 or younger. Now, that's not actually extraordinary because tragically, correct, 25% mortality rate was roughly what was expected. So he was at 30%. That's within the reasonable, obviously you can't have 2.5 kids die out of 10. So that's exactly what you would expect. What's more significant is that 6 of his kids went on to get married and have long-term marriages, and 3 of them never had kids, 2 of which we know tried and wanted to have kids, one of which we presume probably would have had kids had they been biologically capable. So it would appear that half of his surviving children were sterile.
Yeah, wow.
Right? This is what happens when you inbreed. This is what happens when first cousins inbreed. There are certain parts of the world that have a very well-known wandering eye, lazy eye issue. That's a product of inbreeding. People talk about the royal families of Europe being kind of a bit weird. Yeah, a lot of inbreeding. Yeah. Multiple generations. They were all trying to marry each other, and sooner or later, if your family keeps on marrying with the other family for long enough, shit starts to get weird.
Yeah.
Inbreeding is a massive problem, and there is a reason why there is a prohibition on marrying your first cousin. Now, interestingly, I think this is a really great argument for creation, because inbreeding and cousins marrying has become a bigger problem as time has gone on. You go back in history, and actually brothers and sisters were able to get married and not have the kinds of problems that we see out of that today. Why? Well, because they didn't have as many copying errors. The defect part of the congenital defect hadn't kicked in as much.
Yeah.
Every single time we copy our genetic code, some errors happen. Now, you get a copy from your mum, a copy from your dad. If they don't have the same error, then usually your body will express the genes that don't have the error. They will usually express the healthy ones. But if all you get is the broken gene, if you get the same broken gene from both parents, well, it doesn't have that option. It's going to express the broken gene.
Yeah.
The chance of having the same copying error from 2 disparate parents from 2 completely different family lines is extremely slim.
Yeah.
The chance of having the same copying error from a brother and a sister is extremely high. So you go back far enough in time before the errors had begun to come into our genetic code, and brothers and sisters marrying, Adam and Eve, people say, oh, well, they had sons. Who did their sons marry? Their sisters.
Yeah.
Sorry, sounds gross to us today, would cause all kinds of congenital problems if we did it today. But back then, the defect part of genetic defect hadn't kicked in.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, and there may come a point, if human history progresses for long enough, there may come a point where it's necessary to actually say, no, you can't marry your second cousin either.
Yeah.
Because our genetic code is not getting better, it's getting weaker.
Yes.
So this sort of a law, this is again what we talked about before. You want to come here, that's fine. You adapt to our cultural expectations as expressed through our laws. We're not going to change our laws to allow first cousin marriage with all the extra strain that's going to put on their socialised healthcare system, with all of the other issues that's going to generate. This is a capitulation. It's shameful, and it shouldn't happen.
I've got some stats here. So in Pakistan, 65% of the population has entered into a first cousin marriage. That seems really high, 65%. Saudi Arabia, 50%, Afghanistan, 40%, Iran, 30%, Egypt and Turkey, 20%, and in rural areas of Pakistan, up to 80%.
Yeah.
In the West, it's less than 1%. So this is a cultural thing. This is a Muslim thing.
Yeah, and they view that as sort of keeping it in the family, so to speak. And again, it's this idea of superiority. It is racism, and so in a lot of these cultures, what we don't understand in the West, a lot of these cultures have racism expressed actually down to an individual family level. It's not actually so much about the race and the colour of their skin. It's I'm this family and you're that family.
Yeah.
We did see that in England during the your Elizabethan eras, etc., where you had your high families and your low families. There was a lot of inbreeding amongst the high status families. There's a lot of inbreeding amongst Indian Brahmin families and so forth. There's only so many of them.
Yeah.
Right? And they're all trying to stay amongst themselves because they think that that's their superiority.
Sorry.
They think that that's something they want to protect. Keep it in the family. Well, sure, if you want to keep family wealth in the family, okay, do that. But I suggest you want to intermingle your genetic stock as widely as is reasonably possible if that's your concern. And first cousin marriage, the more it happens, and it's a compounding effect.
Yeah.
If you've had multiple generations of first cousin marriage happening now, you are multiplying. It's almost exponential, the number of copying errors that are now being baked into that DNA. And the only way to eliminate that would be to have one of those individuals marry someone of completely different genetic heritage.
Yeah.
Try and find someone that probably separated 100 generations ago genetically.
Yeah.
And if they were to have kids, then hopefully the healthy genes would be copied into the kids. And you could potentially sort of clean up the genes that way. But you don't clean up genetic stock by marrying someone who's got the same copying errors as you. The Nazis proved it, Darwin proved it, and I'm sorry, but a lot of Near East Asia is proving it too.
There was an article from the NHS, which is the UK's National Health Service,
Yep.
where it talks about there are benefits despite birth defect risk. And a lot of those benefits were essentially like you have a good support system because you share the same grandparents. Like it's actually really sick.
Really, yeah. Literally retroactively trying to justify something that they've decided is morally good because it's a them thing, not an us thing.
And the more I looked into it, like it's actually really dark. Like you look at the defects and you know, like mentally incapacitated, like physically.
But that's okay. You've got the same grandparents, so you'll get good
so you'll
support.
be fine.
You'll get good support for
it's
your
actually
mental
really sick.
incapacity.
Really sick.
But this also brings me back to what I said before: how Islam, Marxism, and fascism are just so much exactly the same ideology. A lot of your white supremacist people, they're all about the inbreeding. You know, you've got to keep the white race with the right race. They're all about, maybe not down to first cousins, although I'm sure many of them wouldn't be past it. But they're also about minor attracted. And you look at the history of Islam and you look at the current day Islamic countries. Very happy to have young girls being farmed off to dirty old men. You listen to what the NSN are saying in Melbourne and you know, sort of what white supremacists are saying around the world. They're trying to break that age barrier down and get access to younger girls. Not every single individual, but within that movement, there's a pretty strong sub-push towards that. Marxists are broadly the same. You look at Lenin and his sex life and what he did.
I find it weird that this is going on whilst we're also transing kids and like
it's all part of the same thing.
Castrating them.
It's all part of the same thing. It's the rejection of God's design and God's identity, and it's the death cult.
Yeah.
That is, and the death cult is the result of the rejection of identity. They're all different expressions of the exact same phenomena, which is we have to do everything in our power to reject, and obviously reject as far as possible, any idea that this universe and humans were designed and given purpose in any way, shape, or form. We have to systematically break that down, reject it, get away from it as far as possible, uglify away from beauty, masculinize away from femininity, and vice versa. We androgynize everybody. We have to get as far away from as possible from any kind of design and purpose, because design and purpose require God, and we don't want there to be a God.
This has been fun.
Well, you promised dark.
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the ISIS brides. We touched on this. Did we touch on this Monday? The repatriation?
No, I don't think we did. Yeah,
all right.
I know very little about this.
Okay, so essentially there was, I'll bring up the article. So they've been brought back to Australia. What is it? Repatriated.
Yeah.
And all done via Penny Wong, and it's been a massive cover-up, essentially. Yeah. So these women, from what I understand, they denounced their Australian citizenship. They went over to Syria when the ISIS caliphate was there.
I'm not sure whether all of them would have renounced their citizenship. I think in some cases it was stripped from them.
Okay, right. And the PM and Penny Wong have brought them back to the country. So they're denying it, and there's been a Senate hearing. So these are the people who stood by these ISIS terrorists, had children with them, and now that ISIS has been somewhat thwarted, they want to come back to Australia and presumably come back onto welfare here.
Well, it's really interesting to me because when they first went over, there were a few that then very quickly discovered, fuck around and find out. They very quickly went, we don't like the way we're being treated over here.
Yeah.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah.
You should have maybe had a bit of a look at what it was that you were joining before you went.
The women were wives of men who travelled to Syria to fight for the Islamic State, also known as ISIS, when the radical jihadist group was trying to establish a hardline Sunni caliphate across the Middle East. Department of Prime Minister and cabinet officials told Senate estimates hearings it was a breach of privacy to detail how many wives and children had travelled from camps in Syria.
Can you bring that up on screen?
Yes, I can. Sorry. This is from the Sydney Morning Herald. The coalition honed in on the issue on Tuesday, probing why Albanese dismissed an inaccurate reports that Australian women would be returned to Australia before Christmas as part of a top-secret operation. The government has stressed that unlike the 2022 repatriation mission, it did not organise an evacuation of the latest cohort or organise their flights to Australia. The women and children fled the notoriously violent Al-Hawal detention camp in northern Syria and flew to Victoria via Lebanon. Foreign Minister Penny Wong, who was representing Albanese at the hearings, and officials from the Prime Minister's department repeatedly took questions on notice, including about when government briefings were provided about the issue and why Albanese had denied the initial reports. It isn't a free-for-all here, Wong said as she opposed Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Michaela Cash and acting Opposition Home Affairs spokesman Minister James Patterson. You are asking questions in the wrong committee. Wong said the opposition should instead direct its questions to officials from the Department of Home Affairs and Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade at their hearings in a later week. Officials are entitled to take questions on notice to ensure their answers are accurate. But I want to play you the video of her answering this. Where is it? I've got it here. Not answering it. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone's seen this yet.
I haven't, no. Is from the Australian published the original report reporting that these ISIS brides will be returning to Australia. The government has said that they have not provided assistance to returning ISIS brides. How does the government define assistance?
Repatriation assistance.
Does the Prime Minister consider providing citizenship by descent to be assistance?
The government
checks notes.
So it is not assisting someone to return to Australia to provide them with the documents they need to enter Australia?
Well,
I understand your discomfort.
No, it's not. I think it's just a sort of a clever way of asking the same question.
Thank you.
That's all.
The deflection, and she can't answer it.
Yeah. Now,
won't.
I've got sympathy for taking questions on notice. That I don't have an issue with, because there are genuine, and there need to be genuine, pretty serious consequences if you provide wrong information in a Senate inquiry.
Yeah.
But that was beyond that. That was not just, hang on, let me make sure I've got my facts straight and then I will give you a straight answer. That was very clearly, I'm going to try and think my way through how I'm going to answer this so that I can technically not have broken the law, but not have actually given you the incriminating information that you're fishing for.
So we've talked a lot about Islam, and we've talked a lot about how our Western governments seem to be allowing it to infiltrate. There's a story that's popped up in Wales, where Welsh parents were branded as racist for objecting to an unannounced Islam lesson at a Swansea primary school. And during the lesson, one child said, I'll bring this up for you, sorry. I'm Christian, I don't pray to Allah. The response from the Muslim running the lesson was, by year 6, you'll all be Muslim. And so, understandably, there is outrage over this, because everywhere, and it seems to be the left are allowing these Islam fundamentalists to infiltrate everywhere they can to try and recruit people. Yeah. And you've just seen it at that Western Sydney protest yesterday, or the congregation, where you've got white women who are like, yeah, this sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. I'm compassionate.
I'm compassionate.
Helping.
I want to wear a freaking piece of cloth over my face and be treated like a piece of cattle.
Yeah. So from my perspective, though, and this is an important distinction, because there's some things I've said over this podcast that some people go, oh, that doesn't sound very libertarian of you. Most of these problems need to be solved not through law, not through bans. And if we've learnt nothing out of the last 5 years, if we've learnt anything out of the last 5 years, can we accept that banning and outlawing things almost always backfires?
Yeah.
Right? It pretty much never works. And even removing Clem Ford from Meta, I'm like, no, please don't do that. The people were celebrating Jimmy Fallon getting cancelled. It's like, no, that's not, like, let his show wither on the vine and die because it's not financially viable and nobody cares. Don't give him the opportunity to grandstand and play the victim. I don't want to see Islam outlawed in Australia.
Yeah.
That is a terrible, terrible idea. Pushes it underground, makes them more militant. It exacerbates all of these problems. In the same way, by the way, that the communist China outlawing Christianity has led to a huge revival of Christianity in China. Like, this is what happens. You oppress people, you make them feel marginalized, you give them that narrative, they will grow stronger as a result. So there's something about human nature in that. So what we need to see is the rejection happen at a cultural level.
Yeah.
We need to see Australians sitting there going, hey, you can pray to whoever you want, but you're not preaching it to my kids.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, I'm a Christian. I'll preach to anyone who'll hear me preach. But if someone says, no, you're not preaching to my kids, well, I'm going to respect that, right? And we need to enforce that and say, no, you're not preaching to my kids. You're not getting to my kids, or I don't want to hear any more of it. Okay, fine. But that needs to come at a cultural level, not at a legal level. Outlawing, banning, all the rest of it, no. We need to resist the urge to do that. That then leads to all sorts of other stuff later on. What we need to do is actually, number one, just get back to celebrating who we actually are.
Yeah.
Just get
Stop
back to
indulging in this self-hatred.
Yep, celebrate Australia. Celebrate our European heritage. 100%, I'm on board that. And people say, oh, but you weren't going to the March for Australia, blah, 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 because that's not what that was actually about. Right?
Yeah.
I'm all on board celebrating our European heritage, the Westminster system, human rights, the Magna Carta, all of that stuff. Fantastic. All of the technology, all of the art, all of that. Let's actually get back to celebrating that. Let's wave our flags on Australia Day, have Barbies, play cricket on the street. We talked about this on Monday. Let's actually give people that arrive here something to join, rather than sitting here hating on ourselves and pretending to them that, oh, what you've got so much better. Let's celebrate your culture and what have you when we refuse to celebrate our own. We should absolutely be celebrating our own. And we should use that as the vehicle by which we resist a lot of these infiltrations, not law, bans, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's been heavy. Fun.
All right, now we're going to go across to some culture.
Oh dear.
Because, as I've said, we need to push back on stuff.
Some yogurt?
Some yogurt. Just do this.
What?
So we've just had Paris Fashion Week, and there's a lot I could show you, but I just thought this is worth showing you.
What am I
doing? This is the Jean-Paul Gaultier debut by Duran Lantink. And my issue with this hairy bodysuit full dick out print situation is that it's not actually subversive, it's just like in your face and annoying. It's obviously a reference to Gaultier's famous nude trompe l'oeil effect styles. But do you see how this feels designed with the stripes? And this feels like a Halloween costume you could buy last minute off of Amazon. One of my big issues is I don't know why he did a ready-to-wear show, or Gaultier more so did a ready-to-wear show.
Anyway, he goes on to talk about it. But this is fashion at the moment. It's just outright outrageous. It honestly, I've said this 100 times. This feels like Mary Antoinette let them eat cake, and everything all at once is starting to collapse, and it always starts with this.
I don't know why anyone has ever cared about fashion shows. I've never understood this, because even the designers themselves will tell you this isn't about this isn't about what you wear on the street. This is about fashion. Well, isn't fashion what you wear on the street?
No. So there's a difference between clothing that you wear and fashion as an aesthetic. Okay. And I will go into bat for this.
But my point is, why do we treat fashion as an aesthetic?
Because fashion is political.
But like it is anything more than a display of blown glassware. Like we don't hear about, oh, the glassware exhibition is on in Melbourne this week. Or everyone's going to be there. Why do we treat it like it's this thing?
Well, okay, I'll go into bat for fashion here. Fashion is firstly an extension of your self-expression, right? So, particularly now with modern times and in this post-contemporary...
But remember, fashion's not what you wear. What you wear, your clothing is an expression, yes, but fashion's not.
Fashion is also exactly what sets cultural trends. So you think about that scene in Devil Wears Prada.
Only because we pay attention to it. Yeah. This is my point. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we all just went, yo, and it would dictate nothing.
Well, you got to think back like 300, 400, 500 years ago. Fashion also determined your class and what you wore. And same with the Catholic Church, by the way, depending what robe he's wearing and what colour his sash is, depends on what time of the year it is.
Okay, but there's an issue here, because you started by saying fashion isn't what you wear, and then you're saying what you wear dictates so much.
No.
Right,
no, you misunderstood me.
Are they different, or are they the same?
Clothes are what you wear.
Uh-huh.
Fashion is different. So so there's this scene in Devil Wears Prada where Miranda Priestley, who's meant to be Anna Wintour, says to Anne Hathaway that the jumper she's wearing is cerulean blue. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know this scene?
No.
It's a really well-known scene. I'd play it, but we'll get copyright. So Miranda Priestley, so exactly what you said, Anne Hathaway's character is like, I don't even know why you care. Like, it's just blue, right? Yeah. And what, or she sniggers about belts or something like that. And Miranda looks at her and goes, that blue you're wearing was determined by this designer at this collection 18 months ago. And what happens is it gets shown at the fashion week and then slowly starts to filter down until it ends up in a discount bin where you bought that jumper. Mm-hmm. So fashion does matter, and you care because you pick that jumper out thinking that you were absolutely like saying fuck you to the fashion world while you actually playing into the hands of it. And it's a really important scene for a couple of things, because fashion actually determines so much of how we show up in the world. And you might say, I don't care about fashion, and I actually rebuke that claim. Well, that's actually you playing into fashion, because by you rejecting it, you're saying that I am different to the elitists who...
Okay. If that scene from that movie actually plays out that way, then that writer needs his head read, because what he's basically saying is you wear clothes.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're a fan of fashion. Right, the fact that it came from fashion before it ended up in the bin, the discount bin, is proof that you must therefore care about fashion. It's like you drive a car, therefore you have to care about cars. No, there are people who drive cars as transport. There are people who care about them. There are people who wear clothes as self-expression to try and say something about themselves, and there are people who wear clothes because you get cold or go to prison if you don't.
Yeah.
Right, just because someone wears a piece of clothing says nothing about. But you do care about fashion. Yes, you are. Someone picked that color. But don't give a flying fuck. They could have thrown a dart at a jolly Monet and made it into whatever the fuck color that happened to be at the time.
But fashion's important.
So I know that what people wear is important. What I'm saying is that we're simultaneously having a conversation about how fashion is different from what people wear, but also what people wear matters. Well, I agree that what people wear matters, but what they march down a runway. It matters because people have decided that it matters. There's no reason for it to matter.
It does and it doesn't, right? So a lot of, think of fashion like a painting, right? A lot of it's subjective. You might hate it, and that's fair. But a lot of fashion is actually taking political atmosphere as well as historical references, and they're constantly re-referencing things that have happened in the past. And you don't have to like it. And like typically, like a couture show, you're not actually going to wear those clothes.
Yeah.
It's about showing like the craftsmanship or the story and things like that. And a lot of what hits the runway doesn't actually go into ready-wear collections.
But that's fashion as an art form, as an expression, which brings me back to my glass blowing. Okay, you want to have a glass blowing exhibition, go for it. But I don't understand why we've decided that this particular art form is going to get all of that.
Buy and what you wear decides a lot of your outcomes in life.
But again, we've merged the two.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying is they're different, but at the same time, you always come back around. So when you're talking about clothes, you are removing the fashion element from it. But fashion as it exists, the art form, actually does dictate culture. You can argue it doesn't, but it does. Which is why, I'll give you an example. The wokies, right? And the way they dress. They dress in this sort of avant-garde, like nonchalant, don't care, against mainstream.
Sure.
And it's now been so mass adopted that it is actually the mainstream.
Yeah.
A lot of people have septum piercings. A lot of people are doing these weird
cuts. What was that thing about the guy who went to sue because his picture was used in an article about how all hipsters look the same, and then discovered during the court case that it wasn't him in the picture?
I do not know that story.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty
Did
sure
you
that happened.
hallucinate that
no,
one?
I'm pretty sure that happened. Yeah.
But I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so and now it becomes a uniform because of that mass adaptation of it. So before it was more edgy because one person did it, and then slowly, like a social contagion, it filters on, and that's kind of what the scene in Devil's Wears Prada is also saying, that it starts off as like this small thing and then it slowly filters its way across until you don't realize you're actually participating in it.
Well, sure. That's because we all have to buy clothes. And so the industry says, well, we're going to make our clothes according to this. And therefore, in the end, yes, she wears that shade of blue. It doesn't prove a damn thing. Look, I think this is going to be a fruitless conversation because to me, it just seems like we keep switching between what you wear matters, but it's different from fashion, to all of a sudden conflating the two again. So,
well, what you wear can be different to fashion. Fashion is the art form itself.
Well, yeah. So fashion as an expression of art form, the same as glass blowing or making statues out of bolts and engine parts. Yeah. Okay, fine. I've got no issue with that. But it's treated as though it's this extraordinary other thing, and I just don't understand why it's gotten that position in our culture.
Well, elitism, really.
Money, maybe. There's more money to be made in that side of things, maybe.
Speaking of money, I want to show you a funny clip. We didn't even tangent.
Is this a palate cleanse for the end of the show?
Is it a tangent? We haven't sung tangent time.
I think we're going to have a tangentless episode.
That's outrageous. I feel like we've actually had tangents. You just forgot to sing the song.
Well, I was going to say that my talking about Greta Thunberg was going to be a tangent, but then it ended up actually blending in so seamlessly to what we were actually talking about that it wasn't a tangent. So I think we've had a tangentless episode.
Oh, that's outrageous, guys. Outrageous.
You can't make me dance, monkey dance. I'm not going to do it.
Well, here we go. Oh, hang on.
Are they really? 20 cents is a bit steep, but I suppose I'll still keep buying. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
That's why I'm eating tomatoes. They're cheaper.
They're too expensive.
I think it's a bit stiff.
The meat pie and the pasty, now both 20 cents. Meat pie manufacturers today are most reluctant to talk about the increase in price of the meat pie. They say it's largely because meat prices have risen, and there is an outside chance that before too long they'll have to increase the price yet again.
20 cents? Are they really?
20 cents for a meat pie, but adjusted for inflation today, that's about $2.30.
Yeah, it's cheap. Yeah.
That's still bloody cheap.
Yeah.
I think a pie cost me $8 yesterday.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it can if you're doing the real gourmet, the gourmet shit. I can remember when I'd go down to the corner store and I would put together my 1 and 2 cent pieces to make up 5 cents to get a bag of lollies. And that bag would have probably 15 different lollies in it.
Hang on, how much was this?
5 cents. This is I'm talking.
You really are old.
Yeah. No, but the inflation, the shrinkflation kicked in a big way with lollies. And then all of a sudden the bag only had 10 lollies in it, and then it had 5 lollies in it, and then it was 10 cents and it had 3 lollies in it. And before you
I
knew
remember
it,
that, 10 cents for 3 lollies.
Yeah. That's probably our age, the age gap that we've got. No, it was and Sunny Boys for I remember
they used
them
to be 50
Well, I
cents.
remember them for 50 cents for a long time, but I'm quite sure I can remember them being less.
Yeah, okay.
I distinctly remember petrol being less than a litre, and that whole drama around when it went to 1 litre, a lot of the petrol stations didn't have the 3 digits in their thing. And then there was an error with some of their automated systems where if you punched in a number, like to put in $10, put in $20, it would give you too much petrol because there was an error in its internal system.
Yeah.
All that nonsense playing out. This is the thing is people are going to be looking back and saying, wow, you mean meat pies were only $10 once?
Yeah.
Right? That's when we're walking around with $1 trillion notes in our pockets.
Yeah, 100%. It's I went to the bakery when G and I were moving. We've got a nice little bakery around the corner.
Yeah.
And I got 3 pies, 3 sausage rolls, and I think I bought a piece of hedgehog and a caramel slice to share between 3 or 4 people.
$400.
Yeah, it was like $60.
Yeah.
And I went there because I was like, I'll just get a pie because it's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the pies and the sausage roll were $8 each.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy when you look back. But also, just side note, tangent. Those Australian accents.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, I know. Isn't it good?
Listen
to
the women.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
That's why I'm eating tomatoes. They're cheaper.
They're too expensive.
I think it's a bit stiff.
The meat pie and the pasty, now both 20 cents.
That
meat pie
voice is
manufacturers
gone.
today are most reluctant to talk about the increase in price of the meat pie.
We don't have those voices anymore.
No, we used to be somebody.
We used to enunciate
our words. Mind you, there was some real variety in those accents.
Yes,
though.
there was a more Queenslandy accent.
There were from one of the girls, and then the dude who's about to talk here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely ridiculous.
That's why I'm eating tomatoes.
That's why I'm eating tomatoes. Yeah.
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 But was that also a class thing?
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
This is why people say that I'm not from Australia. Where are you from? All the rest of it. Or I've had a private school education apparently. It's actually because my dad was in radio when I was a kid, so he spoke with that voice. He had the radio voice, and he refused to allow me to speak Australian.
Yeah.
Anytime he heard that twang, that nasal sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
No.
For me, I can put it on. If I really want to be bogan, I can.
Why?
Like, I went to a private school, but we didn't get taught how to speak.
Yes, but you learn it from what you're exposed to.
Yes, yeah. But I really do appreciate people who are articulate and enunciate well.
Well.
Particularly on a podcast.
On that bombshell, my bladder says it's time to finish.
Hey, you made it 3 hours.
3
well
hours with some painkillers on the way. I think they've kicked in a little bit now.
Yeah, excellent. So you could probably keep going.
No, my bladder says no. Computer says no. No, bladder says no.
Computer says no.
Bladder says not on your life.
Well, yeah. Oh, actually, one last. Oh no, I've showed it. I've showed that graph. Damn it.
This was a good fun episode up until it really turned dark and we started
incest?
talking about incest. Yeah, that was a bit different.
Oh, sorry. There is one thing. Just this. We've talked about the exit of wealth from the UK and how it's happening in Australia.
Yep.
So Daniel Priestley's that guy I mentioned the other day.
Yep.
He shared this. So just to read you this really quickly, Revolt co-founder
Revolut.
Revolut, sorry.
Yep.
Nick Stronowski shifts his residency from the UK to the UAE.
Yeah, why wouldn't he?
And he has disclosed this in the company's house filing.
Yep.
So basically that means that, I'll just read what it says here. If I was Nick, I would have made the same decision myself. 18% holding of Revolut. A company will be worth 200 billion without a doubt. 36 billion position at that price. His cap gains bill alone will be 8 billion to 10 billion. That's what he would have to pay the UK government if he
didn't leave.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. And this is what's happening. And this is the Laffer curve in action. So the Laffer curve is basically trying to find the point at which you get the most tax revenue from the tax rate.
Yeah.
If you tax at 0%, you'll get zero revenue. If you tax at 100%, you'll also get zero revenue because everyone will stop working. So somewhere in between those two extremes, there's a number at which you'll get the most revenue. Clearly, we are well above the ideal number, just from putting aside morality and whether tax is right or not, just the number, the practical number to raise the most revenue. If everyone with money who would be paying very large tax bills is leaving in preference to paying those tax bills, you're bleeding tax money. And if you actually lower the tax rate, I would suggest, so studies have said that sort of mid-20s is about the ideal rate. I think in practice, I think those studies have some flaws in them. I think once you factor in a lot more of the human factors, about 15%.
Yeah.
Somewhere around about there. If you, again, putting aside the morality, just looking at the practicality, at what tax rate do you raise the most revenue? I think it's going to be about 15%. Because at 15%, someone like him might go, look, $6 billion is a lot, but then again, I'm making $36 billion. Am I that worried about? I don't know. You know what? Fine, whatever. That decision is much more likely to get made versus 50% or 45%, whatever their highest marginal rate is. Of course you're going to leave.
I'm trying really hard to improve my financial literacy, like apart from the average information that we all know, but I just want to learn this stuff because not that I have this money, but I just like to know. I like to know what my options are.
I plan to someday. I mean, I don't know.
Bloody-o.
I don't know that I'll get to have a $200 billion market capitalization company, but certainly.
Well, the funny thing is about entrepreneurship is you don't know a problem until you face it yourself, and then you go, "Hang on a minute, I know how to fix this." And that's why these people end up creating wealth.
Well, Revolut is one of those. They were one of the earlier financial services providers that allowed you to move relatively seamlessly between currencies and things.
Yeah.
So
is that a bit like Wise or whatever it's called?
Yeah. So Revolut was. I'm not sure if they were earlier or not. I certainly heard of them earlier.
Yeah.
And we used to have one of their cards. We had my wife used a Revolut card, and it's good for when you're traveling and all that sort of stuff. And it's worth a fortune. But yes, and the same thing's happening in Australia.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'm amazed when I meet wealthy Australians that haven't left.
Yeah. I think you'll find some people are making some pretty bad decisions, but most people I know are offshoring at least.
Yeah.
Or making it so that there's an exit there. Like G and I, because we were talking about going to Vietnam or Japan, we were talking about will our government start stopping people from
an exit tax?
Yeah.
Well, they're talking about it in the UK.
Yeah, or just like stopping average citizens, like a social credit system. Like, no, actually, we deem you inappropriate to go overseas, so you can't. Like, I know the ATO says they'll do that.
Yeah, if you owe money and all the rest
but
of it. Yeah,
it's very seldom they do that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, look, you can't rule it out, unfortunately. And all these things, they get given these powers for tax dodgers and whatever, and then slowly they start to apply it to more and more people. I've got a story coming out. So we haven't sort of talked more about what's happening with the gun confiscations in WA. I've now had confirmation that gun confiscations are happening from Victorians. And what I'm told, and I'm working on verifying, is that it's on the basis purely of their social media posts. Nothing else. Because they said things on social media that have been deemed by Victoria Police to be adjacent to or similar to sovereign citizen type attitudes, they're having their gun licenses and their guns taken off them. Now, again, work in progress. I'm verifying the story. Hopefully we'll bring that to my viewers on my channel in the next couple of days. But we're reaching the point where a lot of these, the fit and proper person test where police could deny someone a license was intended for criminals, known associates of organised crime, people with mental health issues, this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And now they're literally saying, we don't like your politics.
Yeah. Oh, it's all good news.
Oh, what fun. What a fun place
it's
we
good
live.
news, not. Yeah. I wonder how far this goes until people go, actually.
Well, the backlash has started, and this is that collision that I'm talking about. The people that hold the positions of power are not going to give up that power easily, but the people that underneath that are getting sick of it and rising very quickly.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really, really intense 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a case of that French Revolution. repeating
I
itself.
hope it never comes to that.
No, I mean, I
that's-
don't want guillotining, but I mean, that's the tension that's building.
Yeah. Yeah, the tension is definitely building. The elites are certainly out of touch. Do the Australian people have it in them to make change? That's question number one. And
well, to be fair, like, because people say this a lot. People are like, oh, Aussies don't have it in them. And I agree, but they've never needed to.
that's why we don't have it in us. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, like, a lot of people don't know what they're made of until they get pushed to a certain degree. So I don't want us to write Aussies off because we're spoiled.
But then remember COVID.
I do remember COVID, but the
Do
problem
you? I'm so surprised. That's wow.
the thing with COVID, and this is what, in hindsight I look back, so few of them were actually impacted by it.
Yeah. It has to hurt. It has to hurt.
And it wasn't like, okay, they're impacted like, oh, I couldn't go out and I couldn't get a coffee, or I couldn't go see my family or whatever. No. I mean, actually impacted. I mean, couldn't get access to surgery.
Going bankrupt, health crisis.
Like it has to
kids
hurt.
losing their minds, something like that. Yeah.
And so that's the problem with COVID, when so many people are like, yeah, but Aussie spent the knee. I'm like, yeah, man, because they were fine. That, like, I've told this story before, but the amount of people who made money in COVID and saved money and told me how good it was for their savings, I was like, I love that for you.
Yeah. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, if you get to a point where you start, preemptively jailing people, or doing the whole social credit score, or start, making pedophiles go into, like, all of these little things, there'll be like little grass fires, and each one will impact more people than others, and it will get to a point where people go, enough. And I think the youth crime thing is probably going to push people over the edge. I really do.
Well, look, I hope you're right that people do start saying enough, but something that is definitely saying enough is my bladder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that your way of saying shut up?
We've had enough. Yeah.
Me.
Me.
Oh, well, that was episode 40, guys. And
that was fun.
As I have said this week, this is your last week to become an OG Oddie. So if you want to be an OG Oddie, sign up today, and then the membership tiers will change as of next week. So we're going to give you guys some value, and we're still working on that. So that's why we said sign up to an OG Oddie.
Yep.
That membership tier will be removed as of this week.
Yep.
As of Monday's episode next week. And we're working on some things for you guys for being early adopters.
And one of the things that we're working towards is our first birthday party, which will be in person somewhere in Melbourne, either in Melbourne itself or in the inner sort of east.
People are saying
Melbourne.
they won't come because it is in Melbourne.
Oh, right. So we've got to go more suburbia?
Yeah.
Or are they saying we're going to go like Sydney or Gold Coast or
something? Well, the problem is, like, actually, let us know in the chat. This would be really good. If you've made it this far, please let us know in the comments, not the live chat, in the actual comments on the video, because the live chat doesn't stay with us for too long. Where are you? I'd love to know the demographics. Like, are you Melbourne, Sydney? Are you Queensland? And if we were to have a first birthday, because this is the thing, people are like, oh, I'm not going to Melbourne. I'm like, yeah, but if everyone's in Melbourne.
Yeah, that's right. If half the people are in Melbourne, we have to have it in Melbourne, because the other half are distributed across lots of places.
Yes, so it will be a proximity thing. Otherwise, if you're all in the Gold Coast, I wouldn't be against going to Queensland.
All right, but we're going to have an in-person event. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some plans for that, and we will be confirming the date with you, hopefully on next week's Oddcast, but we will see.
And I also have a new merch design that is coming out for our first birthday. Yeah. Interesting. So that's in the works.
I look forward to it.
Yes. Anyway.
Right. I'm deep into the toe wiggling stage. We're done. We're done. We're out of here.
Go. I want to see you pee your pants.
Nobody wants to see that.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, what about me? What about me? What about me? Bye.
Why don't you just put on the wide shot? Then we can.
Because it's about me. Bye.